We're not hot, right? Yo, what's going on, everybody? Happy afternoon, early evening, Friday, heading into the end of the week, into the weekend. Your boy's birthday's on Sunday, too. So let's have ourselves a night. It's the Stochastic.com NBA Deeper Dive presented by No House Advantage. Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D, joined by Neil Orfield at Player Q DFS. Filling some big shoes today, Neil, but I believe that you can do it. Adam Scherer requested off. We got 10 games. And I told you guys this morning, what a mess of a slate this has become.
So I just read that Adam was on Live Before Lock. Somebody had posted in chat, so I thought that Adam was coming on later. Is it Greg and Eric, right?
Greg and Eric, yeah.
Okay.
Greg and Eric coming
on.
I
was as I just told you, this is the rare time that I forgot that I was on Deeper Dive until Jordan requested me in the Zoom. Luckily, I had already done all of my. I've been looking at the NBA slate already. I was just writing an article about it, but I was thinking I was on Live Before Lock, not Deeper Dive, until Jordan just reminded me. So getting my stuff all ready, but yeah, should be a fun show. Let me guess your age. Okay, you're going to turn 36.
29.
29. Yeah.
No,
okay. That was my second guess.
I'm kidding. 41.
Yeah, that's also not true.
36.
I got it right on.
You got it. They're right on the number. 36.
Right on the number.
March 26, baby. Happy to have you guys with us. Oh my God. Jorge just gifted 50 Stochastic subs. Woo, look at that, dude. 50 Stochastic YouTube memberships. What a guy.
What a guy.
Appreciate you, man. What a way to start off the show. Also, I thought this was funny. Where is it? Somebody said that Brandon Katz just got kicked out of the Odd Shop chat. So what are the chances he pops his way in here any minute now?
Yeah, he'll be here.
But shout out to Jorge. You're the man, dude. We appreciate you showing the love to all of the people in here. And hey, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. We've been crushing it on the thumbs up. People have just been generous lately, Neil. And we trust that everyone knows how to find that button and show some love around here.
That's right. Especially this NBA crowd. I feel like at least like 25% of them are going to be able to find that button.
I think so too. We will get to 500 by the end of the day. A little bit of an earlier start today because we got 10 games, but we're in good shape. And subscribe to the channel as well. All right. We say we dive into this, man. We got a lot to talk about here.
We got a lot of games here. Yeah, 10 games late after a 4-gamer last night. And a fun one.
Yeah. Oh, and Hannah, thank you. Atone for your sins, please. That should be, I forget it sometimes. I got to get chat to keep me in check. Atone for your sins. Are you doing anything fun this weekend, by the way, before we dive into this?
So immediately after this show, I will be prepping. We are hosting, or rather, one of my friends is hosting at our house a bourbon and Uncrustables tasting party.
Wait, peanut butter and jelly?
Yeah, he saw it on shitty food porn and thought it would be funny. So he said, you guys want to do this? And I offered to have it at my house. We've got, enough bourbon glasses for everybody. So I'm going to be hosting a bourbon and Uncrustables tasting party. The look that Jordan Klein is giving right now.
That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Exactly the look that I had and everybody else had when we heard about it. But it was like, we'll try it. Why not?
By the way, I had no idea about this. I just, for some reason, thought to ask you what you were doing this week. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I have weird plans. And then tomorrow night, actually, my wife's cousin has a birthday party at a distillery, so gonna be busy this weekend.
I love peanut butter and jelly. By the way, eat them frequently. I'll do like peanut butter and banana sandwiches. You name it, dude. I'll love it. I take scoops of peanut. It's actually sunflower butter. My daughter has a peanut allergy. Hopefully, she'll grow out of that one. Tastes the same. It's still delicious. I go in there with a big tablespoon, just scoop it out and eat it straight out of the jar. Sometimes throw like a few pretzels in my mouth at the same time, Neil.
Oh yeah. I do that with peanut butter. So
yeah.
Weird.
Also, I love bourbon. So as wild as that sounds, I would enjoy the hell out of a Uncrustables and bourbon tasting party. But it's really a bourbon tasting party with Uncrustables. Like, you're not, we all know what they taste like.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just a pairing party for those two things. I've never had Uncrustables before, so, and I'm not the only one. Like, I think 3 of the, I don't know, 5 of us, however many are coming, have never had Uncrustables before. I think came out, shortly after my childhood is when they became kind of a go-to thing for kids.
They're fine, but they're not as good as like a regular peanut butter and jelly on a good potato bread.
Yeah, sure. Agreed.
Jordan won't eat potato bread because the name potatoes in it, but most people, sane people, love it. All right, let's talk some basketball here. Pacers, and by the way, well over 100 likes. Thank you guys. You're the best. Yes, Fanatic, handmade are way better than but Uncrustables are fine. Like, if you're just, get something for the road, I'd rather make it myself. With the I'm doing triangles. I'm not going straight across. I do triangle cuts, Neil.
I do that. I still cut my sandwich. That's how I do it with my, if I do like a grilled cheese and tomato soup, I always do the triangle.
Absolutely.
Cut too. Yeah.
Presentation 100 times better as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So there are just a heads up for those of you guys that are looking at the slate for the first time. If you watch the strategy show with Adam and me today, you already know, but there are going to be on a slate like this, you're going to get a lot of games where teams just are largely unappealing for the most part. Doesn't mean they aren't valuable in tournaments. It just means they're mostly unappealing because there are other spots that are insanely attractive. So we'll kick it off with the Pacers here. First things first, they're 11.5 point dogs. There are some absolutely massive spreads on this slate, Neil. I don't know if Halliburton plays. Full participant in morning shoot around, so it looks like he could. He's missed 6 straight games now, but if he ends up playing in a spot like this, I really don't know on this slate how much of the Pacers you can get to with confidence.
Yeah, I don't see anybody who's going to be any kind of priority for me from the Pacers. I think whether he's in or out, even if he's out, like, there'll be some plays who are fine, who get little boosts with him out, but I don't think anybody's going to become a priority because TJ McConnell's still up at 5,500, Benedict Matherin's at 5,300. Like, we just don't have anybody, below 4,000. None of those great plays who are just too cheap here for the Pacers. And it's a 10-game slate, so we don't really need to play anybody we don't want to. And I don't really see myself getting to the Pacers, particularly in this matchup with Boston, and there's blowout potential. There's just not much to like here.
There isn't. And that's what I'm saying. There's certain spots we really don't need to dive deep into. Boston Celtics, on the other hand, I have a couple bets on the Celtics over Jaylen Brown, over rebounds, over 5.5 rebounds on Jaylen Brown today. As far as DFS goes, if you want to pay for Tatum, all right. But I mean, you have Luka with potentially no Kyrie Irving. Joel Embiid is questionable still. We'll see what goes on with him, but he's took part in shoot around. My assumption is he is going to play in this game. Giannis against Utah. I don't think Dame's going to play. Greg said in our chalkboard chat that he thinks that Dame could be out for not only not play, but he said he thinks it could be shut down for the year. You also have Anthony Davis. And Domantas Sabonis, who's been Nikola Jokic light lately. I won't even say poor man's Nikola Jokic. It'd be an insult to Sabonis. My point being, Tatum against the good matchup with the Pacers, you're never going to turn your nose up at it, but I wouldn't say it's a priority either. And the ownership shows.
Yeah, exactly. It's similar. It's not the same. Like, I have more interest in these Celtics guys than the Pacers because, Tatum, Jaylen Brown just look good. It's a much better matchup with the Pacers. Like, the Celtics, really tough defense, tough to play against the Celtics. The Pacers, not really a tough matchup. But as you said, like, everybody looks like they are healthy. So they're certainly not a priority on a 10-game slate. If you want to play some Jason Tatum, he's projected for 5x value at 10,700. Great matchup. No issue with playing Jason Tatum. The field's getting there about 9%. That looks about right. Jaylen Brown is down at 9,200. I think if I were going to play one of them as Jaylen Brown, which I keep saying, and he hasn't really been crushing it, but I think one of these games he's going to have a big game. It's currently projected for just 3% ownership, nearly 5x value. It's a great matchup with the Pacers, so I like Jaylen Brown as well. But yeah, nobody who's a priority from the Celtics. Marcus Smart actually looks the best point per dollar. Robert Williams a little bit better, but Marcus Smart, Robert Williams, the two good point per dollar options. Marcus Smart at just 5,500. We're projecting for 28 fantasy points. Looks pretty good. Robert Williams, we got him in for 24 minutes, 24 fantasy points, and he's just 4,600. So some interest there, but no huge priorities from the Celtics for me.
Let's move on then, because Spurs and Washington, particularly on the Washington side, is very interesting. I want to give you guys a recommendation. And in chat, I don't need you going, oh, Loppy, that's gross. Keep your mouth shut if you don't like this recommendation. I'm trying to do you a favor here, okay? Next time you're doing a little drinking, a little smoking. I don't smoke anymore, but next time you're doing a little smoking or a little drinking, by drinking, I mean excessively. My sister-in-law, 5 years ago, 4th of July party, we're all tuned up, late at night, we got to get something to eat. So we made grilled cheese, and she's like, put grape jelly, like a thin spread of grape jelly on the top of this grilled cheese, Neil. Yeah. Let me tell you something, particularly when you've been imbibing or not. It is one of the greatest things in the world for like a late night before you pass out type of situation. Grape jelly, thin spread on grilled cheese with potato bread might change your life.
All right. So I want to try that. The last time I got a great recommendation, it sounded so amazing. A friend of mine told me he doesn't use butter. He uses mayonnaise instead on the outside, like when he's going to grill the grilled cheese. And it was kind of disappointing. Like I think it was actually not as good as butter. So I've been disappointed before with my grilled cheese. But you're saying on a grilled cheese, add just a little bit of what flavor do you say?
Hold on. You use butter, of course. You need to use butter. You need to get that nice golden brown crisp.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm saying once it's done, you put the thin spread. It makes sense. Someone just said cheese and brie, or brie and what was it? What were they saying? And fig. Yeah, like it goes together. Just you guys try it. Whenever I say this stuff, people scoff at me, and then I get hit up on Twitter at like 12 a.m. on a Saturday by people. Dude, you were right. This is delicious with a picture of it. So hit me up. That's all I ask.
Nice.
It's good. Try it. Very good. Steve Sand said he agrees. Yeah, it's awesome, dude. They're so good. Everyone hears and they think it's gross, but it's not until you try it. All right. Yeah. Okay. So San Antonio. I want to get to Washington in a second, but we got to get through this Spurs team first. Had a lot of guys on the injury report. As it stands right now, the guys that are pulling ownership, Neil, are nobody. Like it could have looked a lot. You could have seen Mamu get some time if Zach Collins was confirmed out, but we have him in right now. So we do have to pay attention to some of this because there's a lot of Q tags, many of them probable. Sohan is out, Langford's out, but then you have guys like Graham, Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones, all probable. The price points right now, it's not adding up to a great team to target today, unless you see something that I'm missing.
No, so I think the best advice that we can give for the Spurs is listen to Live Before Lock, because we just don't know who's in, who's out for the Spurs. We could have some decent value open up from the Spurs depending on who is ultimately ruled out. Like if Trey Jones is out and Devontae Graham is in, maybe you want to play some Devontae Graham, but we just don't know who's out. We have so many questionable players right now on the Spurs. I think it's just a futile exercise for you and I to try to discuss the Spurs when we just don't know who's going to be in or who's going to be out. Right now, we have everybody in and nobody is a priority. Like that, we have got some decent values. Zach Collins looks fine. Devin Vassell looks fine. You can play Trey Jones if he's in, but all of these guys are questionable. So I think the best that we can do is say, listen to Live Before Lock, because they're going to have more information than we do.
Yeah. But also I still think even if Collins is out, that like Mamu's price has come up to 40. He's not dirt cheap anymore. I think he'll be fine, but it's a 10-game slate where you already have 1,000 guys who are ruled out. I just have a very difficult time believing that he's going to be popular anyway. You know what I mean?
Right. He'll become playable, but not like a priority anyway at 4,800.
Right. But like Drew Eubanks is 3,400 with Nurkic not expected to play. Right.
Right.
There's a few of these guys that are just, and I'm talking at the center position, that are around the similar price point that already look really good. But on the Washington side, man, this is where it gets interesting because Beal is out and Kuzma's out. Both of these guys remain out today. You've got Kristaps Porzingis right now with 33% ownership, negative leverage in the boom bust tool. This generally happens when you've got guys that are as high owned as he is, but Denny Avdia is very popular. Monty Morris is pulling 25%, and they're obviously in as good a matchup as you can get against this Spurs squad tonight in Washington.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic spot. You look at our boom bust tool, two of the top three plays on the entire board in terms of just optimal odds are Kristaps Porzingis and Denny Avdia, and then just three down is Monty Morris is the sixth overall in terms of optimal odds. So as you said, like we have some negative leverage on all three of them, but that doesn't make them bad plays. It just means you can't play, or I wouldn't recommend playing all guys that have negative leverage that are going to be over-owned by the field. You're going to want to mix in some players that are going a little bit under-owned, but you can certainly play Kristaps projected for 33% ownership with a 23% chance of being optimal and also a 44% chance of booming. So Kristaps looks fantastic, just a little bit over-owned on a 10-game slate because 33% ownership on a 10-game slate is a lot, but certainly should be able to smash his value, especially against the Spurs. Denny Avdia, 33% ownership, 23% chance of being optimal. So I guess the exact same as Kristaps, but only a 28% chance of booming. So of the two of them, Kristaps looks a little bit better in the boom bust tool, but they both look like perfectly fine plays. And then Monty Morris also 25% ownership, 17% chance of being optimal, 26% chance of booming. Looks pretty good. I think all of these guys are very, very playable, particularly in this matchup with the Spurs, who have the worst defensive rating in the entire league. I'd say those three are the biggest priorities from Washington because it's a 10-game slate. It's although they look great, they're not like I'm not going to try to have 80% of any of these guys, but I think that they're all, if you wanted to go that way, I don't think it's necessarily wrong. But those three look pretty great. Daniel Gafford also 5.5x value at 4,700. We've got him in for 23 minutes, 26 fantasy points. Looks pretty solid. DeLone Wright, Jordan Goodwin. We should, of course, pay attention to the starting lineup. We had Monty Morris starting, was it last night or 2 nights ago? Whatever the most recent game was.
Yeah, two days ago.
2 days ago. And we had DeLone Wright and Jordan Goodwin coming off the bench. It wouldn't be shocking if that changed, but whoever starts of those three is going to look pretty great just from a point per dollar perspective. I'm anticipating it being the same and being Monty Morris, but something to pay attention to. But yeah, it's just a great matchup with the Spurs. They're without two of their biggest usage players. So a lot of these guys are going to look great.
They really are. And it's no surprise you're seeing so much ownership going to these players. Like you're taking two of the big three out of the rotation tonight. And again, that's not even considering the fact that you're going up against the Spurs,
Right.
It's exactly. As good a spot. Go ahead.
No, I'm disagreeing with you. It's just like from just a raw opportunity perspective, they're going to look great, and then they also have a great matchup with the Spurs.
How far down the list are you willing to go with Washington? Just for anybody watching and they're wondering, like, okay, it's a great matchup. Beal and Kuzma are both out. I know Porzingis, Avdia, Monty Morris, Gafford, all those guys are viable. Of course, wait for the starting lineup, like you said. See if it's the same. Is there anybody else that's viable down at the bottom, or are we just playing like the top five if you want to include DeLone Wright?
Yeah, so I'd say the biggest priorities are Kristaps, Avdia, and Monty Morris, followed by Daniel Gafford. I think DeLone Wright certainly playable, Jordan Goodwin definitely playable, and then I'd say Corey Kispert is probably where I'd draw the line as a somewhat playable option. And we've got him in for 32 minutes. He's only 4,800, and he's facing the Spurs. Not a great point per dollar player from by any means, but getting minutes against the Spurs, I think he should have opportunities to score. So I don't mind Corey Kispert either.
Want to move on?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. So 2 down. It's about to get very interesting in some of these spots too, because we still have a lot of pending injury news. Once again, though, there are other teams that they provide very little value. I'll give you one of those examples today. Detroit's been a team that we've been landing on a lot lately. Killian Hayes, all right, maybe you have to play him, or Jaden Ivey, or whoever it is at this, Wiseman, Marvin Bagley, those guys have all looked really good, but now you're getting price points that are exceeding the value that we were getting before. And Bogdanovich and a lot of these guys have already been out. I guess the only question is, does it make any difference to you that today Magruder's out and Corey Joseph is out?
Not really. Like, still nobody looks like a priority from Detroit. I mean, sure, it's going to make people look a little bit better. So like it makes a difference in that, it's going to make Killian Hayes look better, playable maybe. James Wiseman looks okay. 4.5x value we have him at right now, but nobody's a priority from Detroit for me at all. I wouldn't be surprised if I don't play any of these guys.
All right. Well, I don't think you need to.
Yeah, I don't either.
At this rate, I don't think you need to. I think if you look at Toronto, things are a little bit cloudier here, just given the circumstances with the Raptors. Just looking at who's in or out, because last game we had no Scotty Barnes, we had no Gary Trent Jr., and we also had no Precious Achiuwa, which resulted in Will Barton getting and by the way, Precious Achiuwa didn't participate in practice yesterday. So I mean, my guess is he's probably unlikely to play. Adam and I talked about it this morning though, Neil, and the thought was like, what if Barnes and Trent are out and Achiuwa's in? Do we see a Pirtle, Achiuwa, Siakam lineup? And I think it's entirely possible that you could, but it looks like Achiuwa has a good chance of not playing, and Barnes and Trent are still questionable. So, like, if Barnes is out, Trent's going to start. If Barnes is in, he's going to start, obviously. But right now, we just don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's another one of those spots that's like, they'll have this information during live before lock, so definitely pay attention to that. But they're playing Detroit, so like if they're missing Gary Trent and Scotty Barnes, some Toronto players are going to look great. It's going to be a bump to Siakam and Van Vliet and Pirtle, and OG. We'll probably see a bump to some of these value guys as well. So yeah, Toronto's going to look good if we get Barnes and Gary Trent out, or one of the two of them. It's going to be a bump across the board. And they have a great matchup with Detroit, who has the third worst defensive rating in the league. It would also be make the chance of a blowout a little bit less likely. We have a 14.5 spread last I checked. So it's definitely, we've got some major blowout concerns here, but those are going to be lessened a little bit if we do have Scotty Barnes and Gary Trent out. So a lot of things change if those guys are ruled out. A lot of these players are going to look great, but even if they're in, I think Siakam, Van Vliet, Pirtle, all very much playable. OG playable. You could consider playing Scotty Barnes even if he's in, or Gary Trent, particularly if Scotty Barnes is out and Gary Trent is out in. I would think he would be playable. So I'd say those are kind of the only players I really have interest in right now. Will Barton, if he gets the start again, if those guys are ruled out and Will Barton gets the start, he'll be playable. If Precious Achiuwa is in, he'd be playable. But we really need to wait and see what news we get from Toronto.
If Precious Achiuwa, is somehow in and Barnes and Trent are out, then Achiuwa could look pretty appealing.
Right.
Less so than he would have today before we got the Nurkic news, because with Eubanks, I don't know what the starting lineup looks like, but is it Eubanks and Watford because Jeremy Grant's already out? We can talk about that. That's going to be an interesting spot to dissect, because there's going to be a lot of ownership going to Portland today. And if Greg's right, Greg's coming up after this. He'll tell you more about what he thinks. He mentioned it in Chalkboard earlier. That app is free. Yo, come join our community, man. We got building a great sports betting community, and it's totally free. All of it. The link's down there. It's a great app. Neil just jumped in yesterday. I was happy to see you in there, man.
Yeah, I had to post my tilt because you and I, we ended up missing two of them on the card. Jonas Valanciunas just maybe it wasn't you. Jonas Valanciunas just absolutely smashed the over. It was
because I had the over on points rebounds.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we had different lines there. I had the under on 12.5 rebounds for Jonas Valanciunas because I thought the minutes were going to be insecure, and they very much were not, and he smashed. So that was a bummer.
Yeah, he's played big minutes in 4 straight now. He's a tough one to get.
Yeah.
We don't have to deal with him today, but check it out. Come join it. We just started last week. We got almost 600 people in there. For those of you that, and by the way, it's all free. There's no charge or anything. Like all the picks, we're posting bets in there. Greg posted a bunch. I posted a bunch already. Jake hit the 6-pick prize picks play yesterday. That was massive for NHL. That was a huge, massive 25x ROI. So we're having fun. We celebrate together. We commiserate together. We make some money together. And people are in there from Australia at like 11:30 at night. Or 6:30 in the morning saying, "Oh, good morning, Laffy," and they're going to bed. I'm waking up. It's a great community, man.
I noticed that a lot of Aussies cheering us in there.
Yeah, a lot of Aussies
cheering us in there.
It's true. So come join. Everything's free. The app's awesome too. You can sync all your sports books. All the box scores are in there too. Anything else for Toronto?
No, I think we covered it pretty well.
All right. Well, on the Houston Memphis side of this game, or of the next game, you got the Houston Rockets, 13-point dogs. 233.5 total. Jason Tate's out. Aside from that, though, status quo for this team today. Adam and I have talked about it a lot. We've kind of been high on these guys in tournaments lately just because the price points have looked good. You've had some smaller slates, not a ton of injuries. This looks a little bit different. Şengün's still relatively appealing, I think, at 7K, just because, he might be not be playing as many minutes as like Kevin Porter Jr. or Jalen Green, but at the same time, he's getting considerable playing time. He's 8% owned right now, 7K flat. So I don't think these guys are unplayable in tournaments, but I can't imagine any of them are going to end up being priorities either.
Yeah, it's just a really tough matchup with Memphis and everybody healthy. Memphis, the third best defensive rating in the entire league. It's a tough spot for Houston. They will be probably playing big minutes and they won't get a ton of ownership. So I think they're all playable, just not like huge priorities. I mean, if you look at our tools, we do have Şengün with a 5.3x value. He's 7,000. We're projecting him for 37 fantasy points. That's really good. And it's, he's certainly playable. Somebody who's probably going to be in my player pool. I also think KPJ at 1% is sort of interesting at 8,100, but none of these guys stand out from if you look at the boom bust. I was thinking maybe one of these guys would stand out in terms of just having a great leverage score, and nobody really does. We have Tari Eason actually has the best leverage score on the team right now, coming in at 1% ownership, 5% chance to beat optimal. Kind of interesting. Jabari Smith has a positive leverage score, but like the big three, I guess we have a slight pause. So we have KPJ at 1% ownership, 3.4% chance to be optimal. I think he's playable in the largest field GPPs, just not a huge priority. And we have so many options on this slate. It's hard to be like really excited about playing KPJ or Şengün or Jalen Green. They're playable, but not like priorities here.
Yeah, I agree. Şengün coming off a nice game against the same Memphis squad, 32 minutes, 25, 8 and 4, like a quality performance, but he's not a priority. I think he's a fine play. It's not like he has power forward eligibility either. Not that he should, but center eligible only today. Kevin Porter's price up. Jalen Green can always go nuts, but all of these guys in the boom bust tool, as you pointed out, outside of, I guess you could say Tari Eason. Yeah. All of them pretty much in line with the optimal score, pretty much in line with their ownership, Neil.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're just fine plays. Like they're getting about the ownership that they should, with the exception of Tari Eason. Looks pretty good at 1% ownership. And then KPJ also has a positive leverage score. He doesn't project all that well point per dollar, which means nobody's going to play him, but we still only have him optimal 3% of the time, which is, it's a lot more than 1%. But it's still, not going to hit all that often.
You ready to talk about Ja Morant?
Yeah.
All right. So, Ja Morant. So yeah, this is interesting. By the way, we are already halfway to 500 likes. We still got 45 minutes to go. This is why you have to have faith in the people. You can't be like Josh and people that just have zero. You have to have faith because we got a good group here, man.
That's right. I have so much faith that I just ask at the beginning of the show and then completely forget to ask for likes. I just know people are going to go, but then I'm always wrong about that. You do have to ask for them.
Oh yeah. It's just a subtle reminder. That's all.
Yeah.
I forget sometimes. I just hit it a minute ago. It's just a subtle reminder. People,
I actually have not hit it myself yet.
See,
so
I mean, no, you're just terrible. People want to be good people.
That's right. I'm going to do it.
All right. Yeah, you got to do the same. So Ja Morant, I'll say this: his ownership right now, if you're looking at our boom bust tool, if you're looking at like optimal score leverage, if you're just looking at the ownership projections, all that stuff, right? Player projection. This is obviously operating under the assumption that he's not getting full run today. Now, actually, let me check this out. How many minutes do we have Ja projected for?
Let me get back there. I just was scrolling unintentionally as I was clicking that like button.
Because maybe we do have him projected.
No, we've got him projected for just under 29 minutes.
Okay. So if he's starting and Taylor Jenkins is like, we don't have any limitations on him today, there's no way he's going to be 1% owned at $8,900 against the Houston Rockets.
Right. Yeah. If they come out and say that, yeah, he's not going to be 1% owned here. I don't think they're going to come out and say that though.
Well, hold on. That's a perfect segue though.
Okay.
Let's assume he's starting and Jenkins is just kind of like, well, we'll see, or they don't say anything at all. Would you like to get over the field on Ja, which would be very easy if he really is? I still think he'll be more than 1%. If he starts, I assume that's going to come up, but I still don't imagine that he's going to be very popular, even though if Ja's last game before he went out, right? Before he started, waving guns around, 10,300.
Right. He's too cheap for if we do give him full minutes or close to full minutes, particularly in a great matchup with Houston. Yeah, I'm gonna have interest. I'm gonna want to get over the field if he is in that starting line, which I think he will be. Like, why he was out for suspension, he wasn't out for injury. They limited his first game back, but you can ramp up pretty quickly when you're coming back from a suspension. That's not like he wasn't injured; he was still able to work out. Should be in perfectly fine shape. I think there's a pretty good chance that he does play more than the 29 minutes that we have him projected for. So against Houston, I definitely have interest in John Morant.
Yeah. Lot of people saying easy. Sean V and Brandon Katz saying easy fade. So
I saw that. Almost swayed me this time, but not quite.
Yeah, saying significant risk of they faced each other last game and it was a 5-point game. So yeah, there's shit happens. Weird stuff happens. Yeah.
Weird stuff happens. And also, I think blowout risk, like the game has a 12.5 line right now. That it's not even like close to the, I guess it's close to the top in terms of spread right now. But there's some blowout risk that happens all the time. And even if it does blow out, there's a good chance that he's playing at least halfway through the fourth quarter, 3/4 of the way through the fourth quarter, and still puts up significant fantasy points. So I understand the blowout risk, and I'm willing to take on that risk if he's going to be 1% owned.
Brandon Katz said this game is in Memphis. Good point. So was last game. Yeah, I know they're terrible on the road, dude. They're a bad team. The point is, if you're fading players due to blowouts, well, Dallas is a 14-point favorite. Memphis is a 13-point favorite. Toronto's a 14.5-point favorite. Boston's an 11.5-point favorite. Milwaukee's a 9-point favorite. By the way, you definitely don't have to. You don't have to play Morant. I was asking you as somebody who's won, I would say, we have millions of dollars doing things that the field you have, right? Didn't you win a milli?
No, I've won a milli and I've won, a few 100,000 on top of that. I haven't won millions though. I'm not Alex. I'm not Alex over here.
Sorry. Won over $1 million doing things that are contrary to the field, right? Like that is the way you play. We know that
is the way. Yeah.
You and I have done enough showdown slates. That is the way winning
players play. So like winning players kind of fade the noise and they fade people. They know, when the field is saying, oh my God, of course Memphis is going to blow them out. Like there's that risk. There's also the just inherent minutes risk of he's coming back from a suspension, didn't play all that much the last game. There are absolutely risks here. And that's how you win large field GPPs is taking on risks when they look good, when the payout, if it goes right, is really high. And I think the payout for John Morant at 8,900 against Houston, if he does somehow end up just getting like 34 minutes, he could absolutely smash the entire slate. So I think the payout is worth it, getting over the field at 1%. That doesn't mean that I would play him in my first lineup. It doesn't even mean that I would necessarily play him if I'm only playing 5 lineups.
Right.
But if I were playing 10 lineups, I would probably have one John Morant lineup, and I'd have 10% John Morant well above the field.
I am interested to see what like sharp player ownership exposure looks like to Morant today if he starts, and it's kind of uncertain what his playing time looks like.
Right.
This would be different if he was 10,300, by the way. That's the reason I asked you is because he's 8,900.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's too cheap for being John Morant and for a matchup with Houston. Yeah.
Great. Any other thoughts on Memphis then once we get past that?
Could consider I still think you consider. So if John Morant does not get the start, I'll have more interest in Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. Their prices have come back up a little bit from when they were just dropped out of nowhere against San Antonio last week. They've come back up a little bit, not all the way. Still a great matchup with Houston. Still probably playable, even if Ja starts. They're risks. They're not like priorities. I think that if Ja comes off the bench, I'd have a little bit more interest in Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane. I think Dylan Brooks is playable. Maybe Xavier Tillman playable. Santi Aldama on a smaller slate, I'd have more interest, but maybe playable. But yeah, no priorities outside of, I think Ja, if he gets the start in a large field GPP, I'd want to be above the field. Nobody else I'm really trying to take any kind of stand on. All
right. Someone asked if someone said, wasn't it reported that that Jenkins said he'd be coming off the bench for a few games? I didn't see it. If you saw that, feel free to post where it came from. I don't remember seeing that. I just remember seeing the first game for conditioning purposes. But Adam and I were talking about it this morning. Like the guy's, he's he's a young player. He's a young, like, I doubt he needs multiple games for conditioning. Who knows? Maybe he keeps coming off the bench and this entire conversation is moot. Totally possible.
So I will say, even if he does come off the bench, I still would probably be above 1%. I just wouldn't be much above it. Like I would, if I were playing, maybe I'll have one or two Ja Morant lineups in. I don't even know how many I'm playing tonight. Maybe like 40 lineups or so. If I have a couple, then that would be above the field.
Yeah, you'd still be over the field. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because he could still play 28, 30 minutes off the bench and still could smash this price tag playing. We've got him projected for 29 minutes and we have him at 5x value, and he could certainly go for more than that.
All right. Good stuff. On the season, he's a 1.53 fantasy point per minute player. So
yeah, exactly.
Pretty good. All right. Let's look at Charlotte. Hornets. Do we really want to do this? Charlotte Hornets are another one of those teams where, yeah, you should probably just be dialed in for live before lock. We did get some news though, so that's good. A lot more than Adam and I had this morning. But Charlotte coming off the front end of a back-to-back where they were dropping like flies yesterday, and this morning literally had seven guys on the roster that would be healthy in the event that everyone else was out. So Rozier is doubtful. Dennis Smith Jr. is probable. Shout out to our guys on the projections too. They had Rozier out. They had Dennis Smith Jr. in today before we got any news whatsoever. So shout out to them. Kelly Oubre is questionable right now. Mark Williams is probable. And I think that was it, right? Yeah, those were the big ones here. So we have Dennis Smith Jr. with Rozier doubtful, getting a ton of ownership. What do you make of the fact that he's 21% optimal though in our boom bust tool?
Yeah, it's funny that he has like one of the worst leverage scores that I've seen this year.
Minus 31.
Yeah, 52% ownership, 22% chance of being optimal, 31% chance of booming. Just looks bad all around from that perspective. He still looks great from just a raw points projection, point per dollar projection point of view. So we have Dennis Smith Jr. so he's 5,200. We have him in for 30 minutes and 30 fantasy points. Looks great. Looks great from a point per dollar perspective, but it is a 10-game slate and 52% ownership, just too much here, particularly against, Dallas is bad defensively, but they also play at a slow pace. So fairly neutral matchup, but definitely some blowout risk in this game as well, which when the field, so like I don't mind taking a risk on a game with potential blowout risk on a 1% player, but on a 52% player, I'm more inclined to say, you know what, there are ways that this can go wrong. So I might factor it in a little bit more. I'm not going to be full fading Dennis Smith Jr. I'm going to be trying to come underweight to the field on 52%.
How do you approach the rest of the Hornets then? PJ Washington, Gordon Hayward. We currently have Oubre in. We don't know if Oubre is going to play. He's questionable. This is an 8:30 game in Dallas. So that's really at this point the only one that's kind of hanging in the balance. We have a good idea on Smith and Mark Williams and Rozier, but the Oubre spot is what we're still waiting on.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So Oubre also, like my analysis for Dennis Smith Jr. and our boom bust has Oubre in for right now. If Oubre is ruled out, I would imagine Dennis Smith Jr.'s ownership goes up a little bit, but his optimal odds probably actually go up, I would guess, more than his ownership goes up because it's already so high. So I would have a little bit more interest in Dennis Smith Jr., which means that I'd get a little bit closer to that 52% number if Kelly Oubre is ruled out, just because the usage would go up, probably a safer minutes floor. So I'll like him a little bit better if Kelly Oubre is ruled out. If Oubre is in, who else do I have? I'll have some interest in Oubre himself at 6,800. Perfectly fine play. PJ Washington looks pretty good at 5,900. We actually have him at a 5.3x value. So I do like some PJ Washington. Gordon Hayward is 5,700. We've got him for 31 fantasy points, 5.5x value. He looks pretty good. So a lot of, pretty good plays across the board, even with Oubre in. I don't know what to do with Mark Williams. I don't think I'm going to be playing him his first game back. He looks okay from a point per dollar perspective. We've got him at around 27 fantasy points at 5,500, but it's a little bit risky. Probably not somebody I'm going to on this slate. So I think if Oubre is in, I'm going to have interest in Dennis Smith Jr., Oubre himself, PJ Washington, Gordon Hayward. I think if Oubre is ruled out, I'm just going to have a little bit more interest. I think Gordon Hayward will become a little bit more of a priority. PJ Washington a little bit more of a priority, and Dennis Smith will look better as well.
Rand said you need tools if you're going to have 150 lineups. No way to hand build and edit that. Yeah. Ben Rasa, though, Ben Rasa used to do like 75 hand built lineups.
I did too for a while. Like,
did you?
There, at times, like I wasn't consistently doing 75 lineups, but I would occasionally, like on the days when I played a lot before I had my stochastic subscription and fantasy cruncher, I was hand building everything. I was playing a lot.
So you would hand build like a ton of lineups then?
Yeah. Yep. I found it easier on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I find it harder to mass hand build. I don't know if I just haven't figured out exactly how to do it, where like you make one lineup and then you peel them off one at a time, building in lineups. I haven't quite figured it out. Maybe somebody else can show me how to do that sometime.
I got some Spurs news here.
What's that? Ooh.
Devin Vassell, Zach Collins out. Trey Jones, Keldon Johnson, Doug McDermott, Devontae Graham are all in.
Interesting. Okay. So
Mamu's going to look a little better for sure with Zach Collins out against Washington. He will. I don't think you can reliably get like 30 plus minutes from him at all, but I think he'll look better he will definitely look better now. I don't think it does a ton outside of that.
Yeah, I don't know that it does. Like it gives little boost to everybody. Devin Vassell, you're losing some usage there. Devontae Graham, I think it's going to be some boost across the board for the team, but I don't think anybody really becomes a big priority for the Spurs. Keldon Johnson going to look, he's 79. Damn, Keldon Johnson, 7,900. No huge priorities as a result, but I agree with you. It's going to make Mamu Kalashvili interesting. Greg and I started calling him Mommy on Live Before Lock because I don't know how to pronounce that name.
Just go Mamu. Just go Mamu.
We thought Mommy was funnier, so we.
Oh, okay. This was an intentional thing. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Mamu Kalashvili. Yeah, that's a heck of a name. It really is.
We got both Trey Jones and Devontae Graham in, so hard to really prioritize them. But I guess 5,700 Trey Jones, with some extra usage, maybe some extra minutes, kind of interesting.
All right. Well, on the other side with Dallas, still waiting here on Kyrie Irving. I don't have a great read here. Do you have a read on Kyrie Irving in or out today?
No, not at all.
I don't. It's weird too because like he was just pessimistic about playing in a bunch of these other games. He's missed 4 games now, so past 6 because I remember he did come back for one, re-aggravated that foot, and now he's back out. I don't know. We haven't projected in. I think you have to right now. If that's the case, nobody on Dallas is getting any ownership whatsoever, and I think outside of getting some Luka in tournaments, just getting because he can go for 100. I don't really see how you'd get there. What if Kyrie Irving's out?
Yeah, I mean, Luka's going to look great either way. He's going to look even better if Kyrie is out. But just from a boom bust perspective, we've got Luka projected for just 3% ownership right now at 1,200. He is our highest projected player on the slate. Last I checked, I should double check if that is still true. Yeah, he's still our highest projected player on the slate. We've got him coming in at just 3% ownership with a 35% chance of booming and an 8% chance of being optimal. So Luka, just from a boom bust perspective, looks incredible, and it's going to become easier to get to him as we're getting more and more value. His optimal odds are going to go up. I would imagine his ownership also goes up, but proportionally, I would guess it stays that Luka goes a little bit under owned at 1,200 against Charlotte of all teams. Like that's about as good of a matchup as you can ask for. And especially if Kyrie is out, Luka's just going to do everything. So I like Luka quite a bit either way, to be honest, for a large field GPP.
Okay, that's interesting to me, given the ownership right now. It's funny too, because it's not going to be that tough to get to a 12K Luka on a 10-game slate with value.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of value, and we're just getting more and more value. So I think that it is like you said. Like I think the ownership will come up a little bit, but it's getting easier to get to Luka as we're getting more and more value.
Is there anyone else that you can get to though?
If he's in, you could go to Kyrie at 9,900. He has the same matchup. We've got him at under 1% ownership. Probably comes up if he is ruled in, but still looks a little bit under owned. I don't think I'm going to Christian Wood. Just don't trust the minutes. Yeah.
He played 25 minutes in that last game with the first game that Luka was back. So at that price point, I don't think you need to get to Christian Wood today.
Tim Hardaway Jr. also questionable. I'm trying to think if anybody becomes like, maybe you could play Josh Green if Tim Hardaway Jr. is ruled out, but I just don't think anybody other than Luka and possibly Kyrie is making it to my player pool.
I mean, listen, if Hardaway's out, but Luka and Kyrie Irving are in, Josh Green is picking up scraps, you know?
True. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I agree. I think that's a tough spot to get to. All right. 5 down, 5 to go. Then Greg and Eric coming up live before lock. Hang out with those guys. And then sweat some bets with them. Sweat some stuff with them afterwards. They're going up till 7:30. Then hop into the chalkboard channel. Like I said, the app is down there. We're in business. Not only that, right? Let's say you're already in there. Or let's say you're in the state of maybe, Neil, Colorado or New Jersey.
Ooh,
or Ohio,
nice.
Right? Or Virginia. You're getting $365 by betting $1 single at Bet365. It was so funny that I did this read this morning, and somebody, he wasn't trying to be insulting to us or anything, but he's like, yeah, I did it. And I put $1 in, I bet last night, and now my account's at 389. He's like, it's actually not a scam. And it's funny to me because, first of all, like, we're a reputable company. We don't run scam promos.
Right.
But I could understand why somebody would go, $1 in the 365. There's something sounds fishy about that because it's a ridiculously good promo.
It sounds like a scam. I hear
that's
that
what
promo.
I'm saying.
Like, I need Minnesota to like legalize sports betting. I don't know if is that just like new states, or is it specific states where I don't know.
Well, by the way, link is in the description if you're trying to get that. Jordan, did you throw it in the chat yet? Oh, you son of a bitch. Yeah, throw it in chat. You deposit $10. It takes a minute to sign up. And you take $1 of that $10, put it on anything. You don't need to win the bet, by the way. The bet doesn't even need to settle. You're getting $365. I know I'm only talking the 4 states here, but this is going to be available in your guys' states pretty soon, and you'll be glad that I did this so you remember it. Pennsylvania just struck a deal. They're taking over. BetMGM, I think, like, is taking over, bought one of the other Twin Spires, and it's going to become legal in PA very shortly. So I will be hammering this. Minute to sign up. Think of it this way. You're spending 1 minute to make $365, significant investment. And then you take that 365, hopefully build it in the, 4 or 5 figure bankroll. Not only that, if you lose it all, let's say you just suck, right? Or you go on the worst run of your life. At the end of the day, your downside is $1. You lost $1. You're getting 365. Colorado, Ohio, Jersey, and Virginia. Jump on that shit.
Jacob, should I take the train out to Ohio? Almost.
You really should.
But if you're needs close like enough to these states, you think so? Like, because like I can bet when I go to Michigan. Like, what's the reasoning? Why do you think they would need your proof of residence?
I don't know. I mean, some books to deposit require like ID and stuff.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, dude. Jacob said, represent Virginia here. How long is it running? I don't know, dude. They don't. The weird thing is, I should say the worst thing is they don't tell us. Sometimes they just like, we'll get us something one morning, and they'll go, all right, we're getting rid of it tomorrow. So, yeah, 365. Nathan, is it 365 in site credit only, or can you cash out? Well, they're not going to give you 365 so you can deposit, so you can withdraw 365. They would be out of business.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm sure there's a playthrough on that. But again, like that's like, why does it, like, honestly, why does it matter? It's $365 that for $1 that you didn't have before.
Yeah. So I mean, you're going to need to bet the money again, but like you can be as take as much of a risk as you want. You can spread out your bets and it's going to turn into real money as soon as you make another bet.
Right. Yes, exactly. James McMahon said he did it 365 in site credit, and you only have to play through it once. That's insane. Right.
Yeah.
Some of these sites have like 5x playthrough before you can withdraw. So yeah, I'm telling you, it's the best promo out there. I wouldn't lie to you guys. In PA, you'll see when I do it for sure. All right. Link in the description and in chat, by the way. Okay. Where are we at? Milwaukee and Utah. All right. No Chris Middleton today, Neil. So that's an interesting one. Giannis, Connaughton, Holiday, Javon Carter, Grayson Allen. And it's also a pretty good matchup against a skeleton crew of a Utah team today. It is interesting too, seeing, Giannis getting 17.9%, Luka getting 2% ownership on this slate, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I'm looking at the boom bust duel. So just those are our two top projected players. As you said, we have Giannis at 17.9. So 18% ownership, 13% chance to be an optimal, 39% chance to move. It's a great matchup with Utah. I get it. I get why people want to go there. Was Utah's 24th in the league in defensive rating. They play at, I think, a middling pace as well. So great matchup. I get it why people want to go to Giannis over Luka. But when so much ownership is going to Giannis relative to Luka, I'm probably going to kind of split the difference there and kind of play over the field on Luka. I don't even know if I'm going to split. Maybe I'll still get close to the field on Giannis. So I don't really want to say I'm splitting the difference. He's obviously a great play. Like Giannis projects really well. He projects well, point per dollar, makes a lot of sense. Should be a competitive matchup in Utah. So I like Giannis quite a bit. Looks like he's going just slightly over owned in the boom bust tool, but again, doesn't make him a bad play. Just means that he's going little bit over owned relative to his optimal odds. I still like him quite a bit. We also get a boost for Drew Holiday with no Middleton. Should just have extra usage. We've got him in for just 31.5 minutes. I think there's certainly an upside for more minutes than 31.5 for Drew Holiday. And even at 31.5 in this matchup, we've got him at nearly 39 fantasy points. So with upside for more, he looks like a great point per dollar option at 7,200 as well. Like him quite a bit. You can play Brook Lopez 77,000, a little bit expensive. I'm not like loving that. Bobby Portis playable, Grayson Allen playable, Pat Connaughton looks playable. Outside of those, I don't know if there's anybody else that I have any interest in from Utah. But really, it's Giannis and Drew Holiday are the ones that I have real interest in.
Okay. Everyone in chat talking like from California talking about how they voted to legalize gambling and it failed. I saw that. I was so disappointing, man.
Yeah. They have big campaigns like against it in states that are.
It's crazy. They still have Prize Picks though, right? They still got.
We've got Prize Picks here. Yeah.
They still got all that. J Rose said you're incorrect, Laffy. Bet has to settle first. Okay, bet has to settle first. You don't have to win. For some reason, I thought it was just once you place it. That might be DK, but yeah, you don't have to win. It's guaranteed as long as the bet settles for $1. Right. But again, I can't tell you guys enough. Get in our chalkboard, man. Get in the chalkboard. It's free. And Prize Pick, even if we got a lot of California residents in there right now playing Prize Picks, NHA, Underdog, all that good stuff. You don't have legal betting. You're in there throwing your Underdog and Prize picks in. So
exactly, we're kind of getting the hang of the sports betting. So as I'm learning, I'm in there with you pros in there who have done sports betting for a while.
And then the great thing is, once it is legal in Minnesota and California, you guys are going to know exactly you're going to be ahead of the curve.
Start. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Utah. So the Jazz, man, Fontecchio is one where he's getting ownership. Because by the way, for those of you guys that don't know, Laurie Markkinen out, Jordan Clarkson out, Colin Sexton out, Rudy Gay to a lesser extent, but minutes off the bench at the forward positions, he's out. Yeah, really thinned out squad tonight for them. You have Fontecchio. You also have Kelly Olynyk getting 6%. I'm going to have a little bit of him in tournaments just because he has been their primary playmaker. I'm not in love with him at all today because I think the price is a little bit up there. But at 6%, I'll do a little sprinkle of Kelly Olynyk as well and hope that you continue to see him getting a ton of touches and opportunities with Markkinen, Sexton, and Clarkson off the floor. How are you approaching the Jazz tonight?
Yeah, I think that's a good call on Kelly Olynyk. Certainly playable. He's a great fantasy producer, and he's 6,600. Looks like a totally fine play. Fontecchio kind of interesting. So he's only 4,400. Looks like a solid value. We've got him in for 29 minutes and 24 fantasy points at 4,400. Certainly interesting. I was curious to see what he would look like in the boom bust. So I pulled that up. We've got him in at 24% ownership, 14% chance to be an optimal, 13% chance booming. So it doesn't look great in the boom bust. Looks a little bit over owned, but he's a fine value play. You can certainly get to some Fontecchio. I probably need to refresh. We've got some news since I open the boom bust, but my guess is that that'll stay similar to what it is now. A little bit of negative leverage on Fontecchio. I do think I'm with you on. I think you can play some Kelly Olynyk. I think Walker Kessler is very interesting at 6,700. Coming in at we've got him projected for 35 fantasy points in 31 minutes in a competitive game. You can see a spike in upside in minutes and just a great fantasy producer. Hate to see it here in Minnesota, but he's just he's a monster out there. So Walker Kessler looks good. I don't know that THT. I don't know that I'm going there. I guess he could. He's been so volatile. He's probably a good large field GPP play just because he's been so volatile. We saw him put up 63 fantasy points a few games ago. It's kind of a similar situation here. They're missing all their stars. So THT, Chris Dunn, you can play them. Probably wouldn't play them together.
Okay. Hold on here. Okay. I had to type something. Chris Dunn was getting a lot more love earlier in the day. I'm just, man, everyone in the boom bust tool, just looking at them for the most part, none of them are really all that incentive. Like, they're good plays. Don't get me wrong. Some of these guys are fine plays, but it is a pretty shitty matchup too. Like,
yeah.
Let me phrase it to you this way, Neil. For a tournament player like yourself that is willing to take chances, are any of these guys either priorities or like high tournament values to you?
No priorities for me from Utah. As far as tournament, I mean, THT actually looks really good, or pretty good in the boom bust, coming in at 2% ownership, 11% chance of booming, 5% chance of being optimal. I could see myself playing him. I'm not sure. I haven't done my lineups yet. I have I can do that after the show this time, so that's kind of nice. I imagine that I'll have a little bit of THT just because he's coming in at such low ownership. We've got him optimal, as I said, 5% of the time. So 3% positive leverage on THT. Looks like a good tournament play that I'm not sure I'm going to get to, even though he does look good.
Jet Wayman, hey, thanks for the super chat, man. Listen, look at this, man. Unsolicited endorsement, just saying chalkboard is great. I can only play on Prize Picks, but it's still worth having. It's free, y'all.
Yep.
Just $5 super chat just to be a good guy. Appreciate you, man. And I agree with him, by the way, Neil.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Me too.
All right. Philly, Golden State. As it stands now, we just have to operate under the assumption that Embiid is going to be active in this game. He went through shoot around. Did Harden go through shoot around? I meant to look at that.
I believe he did.
Yeah, I thought so. Harden did go through shoot around, right?
Oh, maybe not. I don't see any.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
Yeah.
He did.
He did not go through shoot around.
So look, it doesn't mean he's out, but I would say if you asked me, if you gave me a 50-50 wager, is he in or out? If he didn't go through shoot around, you gave me even odds there. I'm taking out all day long.
Me too.
On a spot like that. If that's the case, Maxey doesn't look terrible. He's going to see elevated usage. Of course, Embiid's still operating with a 37% assist rate on the season, which is just insane.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane. But like Harden being out obviously doesn't hurt Embiid. I don't know how much it helps him though, because he's just going to do everything anyway, regardless of who's on the floor. Let's assume that Harden's in, and then let's assume that he's out. If he's in, what are you doing with Philly? If he's out, what do you want to do with the Sixers?
If he's in, no priorities from the Sixers. It is a great matchup with Golden State, who plays at, I believe, still the fastest pace in the league. Let me double check. Yeah, still plays the fastest pace in the entire league. So great matchup from that perspective. But still not any real priorities, just because Embiid is up at 11,800. The price tag is about where it should be for Embiid. Similar for Harden, 9,500. Maxey, a little bit too expensive at 7,000. Tobias Harris, too expensive. D'Anthony Melton. Yeah, there's no priorities. I think that if Harden and Embiid are both in, I think you can play Embiid, you can play Harden. I'm probably not going anywhere else on Philly. If Harden is ruled out, or yeah. So I said you can play Harden if he's in. If he is out, I think you could probably play some Maxey. We will see a boost to Embiid's projection. Like, he doesn't get extremely that much better, but we've got him at 59 right now. My guess is he'll be up at like 63, 64. That's what he was the last time Harden was out, will be our projection for Embiid. So we will look better from a point per dollar perspective if Harden is ruled out. So Embiid will become a little bit more of a priority in that case. Maxey will become playable. Maybe Tobias Harris becomes playable, D'Anthony Melton, but still no. Like, these guys have already been kind of priced up for Harden being out, so nobody becomes a huge priority.
Some updates and injuries here from earlier. Halliburton's in, Duarte's out for Indy.
Yep.
Barnes, Trent, and Achua are all out. Will Barton is starting again. Now, Will Barton played starters minutes in the first half last game. And then the second half, I think he played like 5 minutes and never came back out. He was also, as Adam astutely pointed out this morning, he was also $3,100 last game. He's $4,100 today.
I had not looked at his price tag yet. I wasn't expecting all of them to be out. Yeah, it's going to be tougher. It's going to be tougher to want to play Will Barton at 4,100.
He's also just been terrible.
It's also a 10-game slate versus a 4-game slate yesterday,
Yeah.
or whenever the last game was. So, was it yesterday? Was that yesterday that the big Will Barton
No, it
game?
was like
2 days
I
ago?
think it was like
It was 2
7
days
or
ago.
8 on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's right. So it wasn't a 10-game slate, but still, we've got a little bit bigger slate, and now he's 4,100. We also have better value. As I recall, that slate just was really lacking in value, whereas this slate we actually have some decent value. So still not going to become a priority there. Everybody's going to become a little bit more. We're going to see OG and Anunoby look a little bit more interesting. Poto's going to look more interesting. Siakam, Van Vliet, they all look a little bit better, especially against Detroit. Like now, it's a great matchup, and we have lesser risk of blowout since they're missing a few key guys. So it's kind of interesting. I'm going to wait and see what our projections team does with it to really weigh in too much.
SG said Barton's only 37 on FanDuel. Look, here's the thing. Maybe Nick Nurse starts him and decides that if he's playing better than he was last game, because he was just dismal last game. Maybe he does play 30 plus minutes. It's not like Nick Nurse is a stranger to giving guys big minutes, but usually it's not the Will Barton. So
yeah, and he's still. So what do we have him at? We have him. He's put up 0.79 fantasy points per minute on the season. That's not terrible. We're projecting him for 0.8. That's actually before we got the news. So I want to see maybe that goes down a little bit since he's starting, but he's not a terrible play. Like I do agree. Like there's volatility. Sometimes you like to know that about a player. Like if he is doing well, maybe he could see extended minutes. I think that's going to be the case for Will Barton, and he is more likely to be doing well against Detroit than against most teams.
Yeah. Yeah, and who knows? Maybe Pirtle just sees extended run again today because no Achua and that whole lineup gets shaken up. We'll see. All right, we got to speed this up a little bit, Neil. Golden State Warriors. What do you want to do with them?
Golden State, Curry always playable. Let me scroll up real quick. Yeah, no, doesn't look like anybody's going to be a priority from Golden State. You could certainly game stack it. It's kind of an interesting idea, but Philly pretty tough defensively. I think Curry playable at 9,700, 3% projected ownership is low. I still think that's too low for Steph Curry in what should be a competitive matchup. So I kind of like Curry here. I have interest in Klay Thompson, actually the better point per dollar option, 6,700, 10% ownership. Looks fine to me. Draymond looks fine at 11% ownership at 6,000. Jordan Poole, I think, is always sort of interesting when he's getting down this low. He's down to 5,600, 4% ownership. I'd say Jordan Poole, probably my favorite of these Golden State guys. Kevon Looney, he should have to play. If assuming that Embiid is in, Kevon Looney is going to probably get minutes, but it's also a really tough matchup. So I'd say playable at 5,200, not a huge priority for me. Yeah, so nobody from Golden State, a huge priority. I think I'm going to try to get above the field on Jordan Poole and maybe Steph Curry.
Looking at Phoenix, 4-point dogs against the Kings. We had a great conversation on this morning on the strategy show, Monday through Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern time, right here on the Stochastic YouTube channel. That Booker is just always one of those guys that in tournaments is viable because he can pop off for those real life 55 actual point games. You're going up against Sacramento. Phoenix isn't getting a ton of ownership, but like Paul's at 15, Booker's at 11. 239.5 total against the Kings team that has an elite offense and an atrocious defense. If you're looking at a guy in Booker without, even when Kevin Durant was playing the 3 games, Booker was crushing, but even, without him, it doesn't matter if this team's healthy. The usage is going to be there through and through for Devin Booker, no matter what. It's just, he's not always providing the monster peripherals to back up a bad game shooting.
Yeah, but I like him in this spot at Sacramento, which he's getting 11% ownership, so it's not like he's being overlooked by the field. But this is the exact kind of spot where I like Booker because I could just see him firing it off like all night. He could take 30 shots here against Sacramento. So I like Devin Booker quite a bit at 9,600. We've got him at projected for 49 fantasy points in 36.5 minutes. But if this game is competitive, I could see even more minutes and he could have even more usage. So I do like Devin Booker quite a bit. I think it's a really interesting spot, and 11% ownership, feels about right. It's not like he's going way overlooked by the field, but I like the spot. Chris Paul, similarly, 7,500. If Chris Paul gets hot, I could see him just shooting instead of passing. He's projected for 34 minutes, a little over 40 fantasy points at 7,500. So he looks great as well. I think those are the only two that I'm probably playing from Phoenix. Yeah, I don't really think I'm going to Jock Landale. It's probably just those two for me.
Okay. Yeah, I have no problem kind of fading that center rotation either. I'm not necessarily sure what it's even going to look like. Okay. Other side of this one, Sacramento Kings. Domantas Sabonis, 7%. Guy has triple-doubled in 5 of his last 9. He's a monster. He's a monster right now. So I was doing my best bets video on the Odd Shopper channel today. I throw out like my favorite 3 or 4 prop bets, and I was talking about Sabonis. Over this 9-game stretch where he's triple-doubled in 5 of those 9, right? He's averaging a triple-double, first of all. He's 5th in the league in touches. He's 1st in rebound chances and 5th in potential assists. Like, not at the center position, right? Among every player in the league, averaging 20, 13, and 10. He 22% usage, 19% rebound rate, 39% assist rate, averaging 37 minutes per game. Like this guy right now is unbelievable.
He's absolutely unbelievable. I mean, you said you don't want to call him Jokic light because it's insulting. How about he's just like Jokic without defense?
No, I said, I said I don't want to call him the poor man's Jokic. That's why I'm calling him Jokic light.
Oh, yeah. I see. Okay. Yeah, but he's just been so good offensively. I mean, is it a shock? I mean, his dad is one of the best passing big men of all time, so not a huge shock to see that Domantas Sabonis has just become a great passer as well as scorer and rebounder. Yeah, he's just a fantastic fantasy asset in general. Tough spot against Phoenix, so it's like Phoenix, but has
no Ayton helps.
No Ayton does help. That is a good point. Yeah, he's going to be with going up against Jock Landale or Bismack Biyombo. So that is actually big. That's a good point. It's still a slow paced Phoenix team, so it helps, but it still doesn't make it like an elite matchup. But it does. It goes from being a straight up bad matchup to being like it's probably an average matchup going up against those worst centers. So definitely have some interest in Sabonis at 7.5% projected ownership in a competitive game. I don't mind kind of going like a mini game stack. Like take Chris Paul and Devin Booker and Sabonis, maybe even throw De'Aaron Fox in there. It would be kind of fun because I could see this game. This could really go down to the wire. Maybe get some overtime or something. Could be a really competitive game here. So yeah, I like Sabonis quite a bit. De'Aaron Fox, 8,300. We're projecting for over 43 fantasy points. Looks pretty good from a point per dollar perspective. No other priorities. You can play Harrison Barnes at 4,800. Looks fine. Malik Monk at 5,000. But really, I think the two that I'm most interested in are just the studs, Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah. And you're right. Phoenix, it's a pace down matchup, but it's still the highest total on the slate.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Like Sacramento still has a 121.5 implied total for this game, which is pretty monstrous.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you what type of games you get locked into when you're playing against the Kings,
Yeah, exactly.
2 games to go here, Neil. Then we'll toss this one over to Greg and Eric. They'll take you up and through lock all the way to 7:30. By the way, we've got the MLB promo happening right now. And I would definitely say if you haven't been a part of Stochastic yet, this is the time to do it. Or, ready for this, here's the kicker. Or even if you're an existing member at Stochastic, 50% off Stochastic Plus Platinum, the monthly package, 50% off everything. You got baseball coming up in less than a week. You've got basketball in full swing. If there was ever a time, MMA, PGA, NASCAR, NHL, MLB, NBA, XFL, March Madness, like there's everything happening right now. We have the ownership, the boom bust tool, the top stack tool, player project, all the projected, everything. And if you want the Fantasy Cruncher add-on, you can grab that as well. Or you go, well, I get the lineup generator with this, right? I get the lineup generator. There's the lineup builder. There's all of that stuff, everything included for every single sport, including the premium Discord for DFS, 50% off. Use the link in the description. Use the link in chat. I could give you the promo code. I think it's like MLB is back, Jordan. But if you just click the link, it's going to take you there anyway and save you some time for typing that in. And maybe you miss a letter or you space it out or do something silly. 50% off everything. It's only good for a week. So get in on that. Take advantage of it. Wet your beak on all these other sports, and then baseball rolls around. You're already locked in using all the tools. The MLB top stacks and top pitchers tool are the best tools out there. I'm telling you, hands down. You'll love them.
Next week I'm going to be doing I'll be not next week, maybe it'll be the following week. I'm going to start doing a solo video every day for MLB, just going through showing the tools and showing how I'm using them to set up fantasy cruncher. So I'll be showing top stacks and top pitchers tool. But oftentimes the show I'm going to be doing is going to be hours before lock, but I'm going to be at least showing like how to use the tools well. And I agree, they're the best tools in the business. So yeah, take advantage.
Yeah, man. 50% off. Link in the description and chat. And if you're a new user or existing, all these other promos we do are new users. This is new or existing user. Jump in on this, 50% off. Even if you've been paying full price for a couple months, you get 50% off your entire next month through the next week. All right. We definitely got to speed up here. I'm going to throw this to you.
Yep.
Chicago Bulls here are 4.5-point favorites. DeMar DeRozan. So that injury last, what an asshole. Not his fault, but that sucked because I was over on his points, and so was everyone else in the chalkboard app.
I was too,
furious. But hey, we feel the pain. Misery loves company in spots like that.
Yeah.
He's out today. So Zach LaVine getting some ownership here, Alex Caruso, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, so I'll start by saying I have a lot of interest in Vooch here. This is narrative based. Vooch came out and said last year, a couple of years ago, that he likes playing against smaller centers. He feels like he can dominate against smaller centers. And I've been playing him in DFS whenever he faces smaller centers ever since. And he pretty much always crushes. I think there might have been one game where he was a blowout or something he didn't crush. But typically this is one narrative that I actually buy into, the Vooch against smaller centers. Now he's not, he might have to face some Drew Eubanks, who is 6'10". I think that he'll get a mix of Eubanks and Trendon Watford, who is 6'8". So I kind of like the narrative here. So I think, that on top of the fact that they're playing against Portland and they're going to be without DeMar DeRozan, I think there's enough that I have a lot of interest at 4% Vooch. I'm going to try to be at least double the field on Vooch. That is more narrative based than it is tools based, and typically you're going to want to stick to the stats and the tools. But I like Vooch here, so I'll say that right off the bat. LaVine also certainly more interesting with no DeRozan. We've got him at 5.2x value projected for nearly 46 fantasy points at 8,800. Looks pretty good. And then we've got a lot of you can play. Kobe White looks okay. Pat Bev looks okay. Drummond actually looks okay. Point per dollar, sort of interesting. Caruso is, I believe, questionable, but he's if he is in, he's going to look really good at 3,300 from a point per dollar perspective, at least. So a lot of playable guys, but I'd say the biggest priorities from Chicago are going to be Vooch and LaVine for me, and then it's going to be Caruso if he's in. If Caruso is ruled out, then I'll probably have more interest in Kobe White's at 5,100. He'll be playable, decent play. Pat Bev, if he's starting, kind of decent. Patrick Williams, if he gets a start, will be really interesting. But we'll have to wait and see the starting lineup. But for now, the only real priorities are going to be LaVine and Vooch for me. Okay.
Oh, odd. Ben Simmons remains without timetable for return. Nerve impingement in his back. What are you gonna do? All right. So Frankie Lofton, congrats to Colts. Who is that? The Colts is Steve Buzzard. Steve's been on a bunch of shows with us, but he's one of the main guys here at Stochastic. He's just behind the scenes and has a lot to do with the tools. Just took down 200K in the final the other day. I think he took down 40K the other day as well. Guy has just crushed NBA using the Stochastic tools, by the way. And if you're not repping that Stochastic avatar to get the Hall of Fame free month and all that, finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, stochastic.com/avatar. Rock that avatar wherever it is you play. It'll pay off if you hit a big one. Even if it's in the quarter arcade, don't matter. Field of 5,000 or more. Jordan threw it up on the screen. All right, Neil. Portland, Drew Eubanks, great play. Very, very cheap. I think Watford has some tournament appeal just because he's probably going to play huge minutes, but he is 6K and he's only center eligible, which is why he's only getting 5%. And then Damian Lillard, I told you, Greg earlier in the show or earlier in the day had mentioned that he thinks Lillard ends up not playing. He went from probable to questionable. Break down this Portland team. By the way, it is 6:03, so we got another game to go.
Okay, yeah. So we go through quick. Wait and listen to see if Lillard being in or out is going to be huge news, because if Lillard is out, there's going to be some priorities from Portland. But if Lillard is in, it's tougher. I agree with you. Drew Eubanks, project for 50% ownership. We've got him at 6.9x value. Hard to beat that. I'm just going to look real quick at the boom bust for Eubanks in particular, because I think that's an interesting one to look at. So 50% projected ownership, 36% chance of booming, 30% chance of being optimal is a little bit tough, but he's 3,400, probably going to start play enough minutes to pay off that price tag. So definitely interesting there. Lillard, if he's in, going to be interesting. If Lillard is out, just wait for the starting lineup. We're going to have some great value from Portland.
Yeah, exactly. Greg and Eric coming up right after this. They don't go game by game, so they're probably going to jump into this immediately. Don't go anywhere. The Hall of Fame segment's coming up. Showcase some big wins in between getting those guys ready, and then there we go. Boom. But yeah, Eubanks looks great right now. If Lillard plays, he looks good. But if he's out, just like I said, stick around. Those guys are going to break it all down because that changes everything on the slate if Lillard does not play. Unfortunately, that game does not tip off till 10 o'clock. So that's why you're going to have to be around your computer tonight. All right, Neil, let's wrap it up. OKC and the LA Lakers. Take both sides of this game because there's not as much as others. Last thing I'll say, and it's the last thing I say before we go, we are 59 likes away from 500 with 2,100 plus people watching. Atone for your sins, my friends. Show some love heading into the weekend. Neil, do we get there? 59 likes in the next 1 minute.
Absolutely. I believe in our audience. I know they can do it. I'll start with the OKC side. Shea doesn't have an injury designation, says that he's planning on playing. I still think there's at least some risk that Shea is not going to play this game because he hasn't been playing back-to-back. So I think that there is at least a chance. So keep your eye on that, but currently listed as in. And if he does play against the Lakers, I am going to have some interest in Shea at 10,000. Josh Giddey, I like a bit as well, and he's going to become really interesting if Shea is ultimately ruled out. Other than those two, no real priorities from actually. Poku is back tonight and looks pretty good. 6.5x value. I don't know what we can count on from Poku in terms of minutes here, so it's a little bit riskier, but at the bare min 3,000. I guess if he gets a start, then I definitely have interest, but I don't think that's likely in his first game back. So keep your eye on the starting lineup for OKC is kind of the best I can say. But I'll have some interest in Giddey either way, and SGA if he is in. As far as the Lakers go, let me take a look. Anthony Davis, obviously you can play. He's 10,500. No LeBron. He's going to continue to have all the usage, assuming that he's in. I'm going to have interest in Anthony Davis. D'Angelo Russell looks pretty good at 7,400. Great matchup with OKC. I have interest there as well. Austin Reeves, man, what a player. He's up to 6,800. That the price has come up to about where it should be for Austin Reeves. We have him projected at 5x value at 6,800. So that looks good. You can play Vanderbilt. Nobody else that I'm really interested in playing from the Lakers.
Okay. I'll say this much. If Russell is out, Reeves last game started over Malik Beasley, played 39 minutes in that regulation win against Phoenix, led the team in touches, led the team over Russell in potential assists, and absolutely smashed. I don't expect the shooting to continue at such an efficient clip, but if Russell sits, he is questionable, and he wasn't ruled questionable till midday, unless, let's see, was there any news that I missed? Yeah, he's still questionable with hip soreness. So wasn't on the initial injury report. If he doesn't play, Austin Reeves, I know that price point has come up, but Austin Reeves would look superb in this spot. So
yeah, absolutely.
Follow Neil at PlayerQ DFS. Check out everything he's got, from videos to articles. It's stochastic. His picks for Prize Picks NHA over there in the chalkboard. Free app. I'm gonna keep telling you until all of you get in there, and then I'll stop, kind of. But no, you guys are the greatest. We just crushed 500 likes, up to 600. That's how we do it, boys. Follow me at Lafayette_D. Shout out to Jordan Klein. My apologies, Greg and Eric. I'm sure they're so mad at me. Yeah. We'll see you guys back here after the weekend. Peace. Yo, what's good, everybody? We are back. We took a week off, but we are back with the Stochastic Hall of Fame, and we have some monster wins spread across this week. Very excited to get into it, to give away some free months of Stochastic Plus Platinum. and induct all of you fine people into the Hall of Fame. If you're trying to get in on this, get that free month, $120 value, get inducted, featured, bragged for right here in the Hall of Fame segment. All you got to do, download the Stochastic avatar, the profile picture at stochastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins to Stochastic Hall of Fame or Stochastic HOF on Twitter. Get that free month and get inducted, just like everybody that we're going to talk about today. And we've got some huge ones, starting it off with Dylan Strickland. How about Dylan? Shipped to $50K on the first day of March Madness with a single entry, thanks to our boy Matt Gajeski. $50K up top in the $150K tourney tip-off for Dylan Strickland. Huge way to start it off today, but it only gets crazier because you have Bob Crematola, who just, I mean, when this guy goes on heaters, he goes on heaters. And he said it's officially on a heater. Got it, thanks to Stochastic and the great tools they provide. Also, many thanks to the boys for their great content on the Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock yesterday. $50K for Bob as well, or Bobby Nissan. And it looks like actually 7 entries, $5,900 in entry fees, $89,600. Another monster win for Bob. Keep it going, man. And how about our own Steve Buzzard? You think he's using these tools? I can tell you right now, he's using the Stochastic tools. Not quite Hall of Fame worthy, but anytime I can finish 5th in a Super Stack DraftKings live final, I'll take it. $200,000 to DeCole, Steve Buzzard. Monster win, almost $250,000. Congrats, man. That's huge. Taking it home for Team Stochastic, or close to it. And how about our own Josh Engelman? Fun little Saturday, he says. UFC, it came down. He needed everything that he got. Came down to the wire, $80,000. Chopping first place with a couple people for $80K on Saturday afternoon. And you wonder if we have good NHL content. Well, how about Josh? How about Josh Harris? Is it Josh Day at Stochastic, apparently? Not $80K, but in the NHL streets, this is about equivalent. $5,800 for Josh as well. And then you got Noah Levinson. The Stochastic lineup generator, I told you guys, has itself another win. Thanks to Greg Ehrenberg, Eric Lindquist for the advice on all the shows at Stochastic Hall of Fame. $2,000 in the end one. Love it, man. And if you keep this one rolling, you got Joey Foley. I want to thank the Stochastic guys again, but it's been a while. All the guys and anyone I forgot. I made over $1,000 in profit last night. Here's a couple screenshots: 500, 175, 35, first, second, and 5th place. Good stuff, Joey. Keep it moving. And how about Lemons? Not a bad ROI on the jukebox last night. Not at all. 3rd place into $125. I told you guys, it could be the $20, it could be a 10 cents entry, quarter, $1. Doesn't matter. As long as you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, you're getting in. You're getting the free month. You're getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, just like Pat Damon to wrap this one up. Thanks to Live Before Lock, gents, for helping me place 3rd out of 33,000 in this Wednesday 8K fadeaway. 25 cents into $100. Crazy return. Appreciate all you guys rocking the avatar. Enjoy the months. Enjoy the bragging rights right here on the Hall of Fame. And remember, tweet those wins to Stochastic HOF. Get that free month, and we'll see you back here next week for another edition.
What's up, everybody? The best duo in the game. We're back together. Eric and I don't do a ton of shows together these days. But part of it's because Eric was in a contract dispute and he requested that he no longer do shows with me. But he has to every once in a while. There's only so many people we have around here. But today, Eric is stuck with me, and you guys are going to reap all of the benefits. As you come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Eric and I back together. United and it feels so good. Nothing could be better. Nothing could be better.
I can fake it for a day. It's really hard to fake it an entire week.
Yeah, I get it.
But I can fake it for a day.
Yeah, 5 days. Like, I could see you got the fake. I don't even know if those might not even be real teeth you have in your mouth right
Greg,
now.
Greg, how are you today, buddy? I missed you so much.
I find that unlikely. I find that very unlikely. I'm happy you're here though. If you guys do want more of Eric, go check out our Odd Shopper channel. He's pretty frequently been on the Odd Shop show that we do 4 to 5 Eastern time over on the Odd Shop channel. But for today, him and I are going to be breaking down another NBA DFS slate. If you guys haven't done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're sponsored by Bet365 today. I know Lofty Guy gave you guys the rundown in the last show. I don't know that there's an easier way to make $365. Have you seen an offer anywhere where you are going to find an easier $365 to make, Eric?
Well, I have a guy. He's under a bridge. He does nice things. But other than that, I can't think of anything.
EMAC does that for 10 cents, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not $1. So it's what it is. But yeah, $1 for $365. This is available in 4 states. Let me list them off for you. Colorado, Virginia, Ohio, New Jersey.
I live in New Jersey.
That's great for you. Have you done Bet365 yet?
I do. I've signed up for Bet365. I've got an account on my phone. I've got the app and everything. And all you have to do to take advantage of this, here's why I did it, because it's so easy. You click on the link below, you place a $1 bet, and they give you $365 in bonus bets. So yeah, go ahead. Yeah, one. And then if you do it, I don't
even
really
need to. It's just this.
Yeah.
When you're alone without me.
Yeah. Whatever it is that Eric's doing with his fingers, it is that easy to get $365 in bonus bets from Bet365 when you sign up using the link that we have below. Guys, I don't know how long this deal is going to be available for. I'm being honest. I really have no clue. They didn't tell us, but it is just a super easy way to help build up your bankroll. So take advantage of that. And this NBA DFS slate now, because we got to talk about that as well.
It's wild.
I mean, here's the best way to explain it. It is that time of year, right?
Yes.
It's that time of year. We have to read off the NBA injury report just to give people a kind of idea of what we're looking at. But this is a super tricky slate to know lineups for in advance. And I didn't even if I built lineups 30 minutes prior to this, it would be of zero value. We're just going to have to build them as we go, as we get more news, because right now, Joel Embiid is questionable. James Harden is questionable. Those guys seem important. Kyrie Irving is questionable. Damian Lillard is questionable. Those guys seem important. SGA is questionable. D'Angelo Russell is questionable. Kelly Oubre is questionable. I don't even know if I'll read off any of the more names, but you guys get the idea. These are massive names on the injury report, and some of them are going to get ruled out. I don't know who. I don't know how many. I guarantee you at least a couple of them are going to get ruled out. It's going to open up a ton of value. So just as a quick overview to the slate, Eric, what is your mindset approaching this and how you're going to go about setting some of your lineups, particularly knowing that we're going to be going into lock with a lot of key players questionable?
Yeah, I've made a lot of pretty strong assumptions with my lineups on what's going to happen, and it's almost all in the late night window. So that's a plus. I'm going to have some maneuverability for both I'm playing both DraftKings and FanDuel tonight. I think that it's pretty easy to be able to build and have an exposure to a different core on both sites where I'm not too worried about building out for one thing. But one thing that's really apparent to me is that I should just build almost all my lineups for that evening window and then build with the top end studs from some of these early games. Like Porzingis, I'm not going to live without at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Giannis, I'm not going to live without at 9 p.m. Eastern time. But I'm pretty positive James Harden doesn't play. I'm very positive Damian Lillard doesn't play. I'm pretty on the fence about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It ended up being a blowout, but that could open up quite a bit against one of the best matchups you could possibly run into in LA. So all of those games come up at 10 p.m. Eastern time or later. So I think I'm just kind of preloading a lot of my lineups towards that late window. And as games lock, I'm just going to have exposure to a small group of players and almost all of them are going to be studs.
And so then here's the other part that I think is going to be pretty important. And sorry, if you mentioned this while you were talking before, okay. And I may or may not have broken my phone as you started talking. I was trying to pull up Discord because if you guys have questions, you could ask me in Discord. So I go and pull my phone up and just immediately dropped it on the floor in my office here. So if you guys have questions in Discord, at me so we could answer them. But the thing that I wanted to ask you is, I'm considering just leaving the first 2 games of the slate out of my player pool entirely. Is that a consideration for yourself, or are there guys you absolutely can't go without in the Washington Spurs game and in the Celtics Pacers game?
Yeah, I'm not going to play a slate without Porzingis. And then I think on DraftKings, I'm not going to play a slate without Denny Avdia to a certain extent because of the small forward, power forward eligibility. As I look at the evening window, a lot of it is going to be point guard centric with SGA, Damian Lillard, and James Harden. I think it's going to be very, very, very easy to build around those positions at guard based on how that news comes out. I would be shocked if at least one wasn't ruled out, I think it's probably accurate to say I would set the line at like 1.5, and it's probably juiced towards the over in that kind of a situation, because I do not think James Harden and Damian Lillard play. But I am looking at this as like, I just want the studs from the early windows. Like I'm probably going to get a tiny bit of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown as it comes out in the wash. I'm going to get like maybe a tiny bit of Sandro Mamukashvili from San Antonio. I might get a tiny bit of some of the studs, from Toronto, but it'll mainly be just like a piece here, a piece there. Nobody that is going to be any kind of a priority. And if I was just building one lineup, I would eliminate the entire early window.
Yeah, so I'm playing 20 lineups today, only playing on DraftKings. And I hear points per dollar, Porzingis and Deni Avdija, terrific plays. I do think, though, relative to some of the players that are going to open up later on in the slate, I think these guys are going to go over-owned. So cash games, I agree. Load up on Porzingis and Avdija. And if you guys are playing more than 20, maybe you can mix them in as well. But even though I absolutely think they're two of the best points per dollar plays we have available right now, I'm still apt to kind of say, like, I'm going to pass over them because I think they're going to be too popular relative to some of the other options we're going to get later. That's my thought process.
Yeah, I get it. For me, it's positionality. That's what I said before. I think because Porzingis has power forward eligibility, because Deni is small forward, power forward, that's why I'm more inclined to play some of them. I'm not going to get to 37 and 43% of them. Like, that is just not going to happen on FanDuel today, where I have a little bit more action going. And that's kind of what I keep staring at. But it's really hard to get away from having at least some of that. Again, having the ability to play Porzingis at power forward or center and kind of move him around a little bit. Those are 3 lineup spots he can fit into. I feel a little bit, I'd feel really uncomfortable not having any of him. I think most of what we're waiting for is going to end up showing up at guard.
Yeah. And I mean, we're thinking it could, but there could be just like for the Sixers, for instance, I would not be stunned if both Embiid and Harden get ruled out, and then you just get all the value everywhere. At every position.
No, that's true. And again, that's why I'm saying it's like I would find it impossible. So the other thing too, on a slate like tonight, it is an amazing night to be splitting your action. Like if you generally are somebody who plays a couple $100 or, even if you're playing like $80, I would be playing multiple sites and I would be playing the late slate. You have 4 games on a late slate. You almost never get that. It's an entirely new slate. And if you're worried about certain exposures, if you're worried about not having action on a certain amount of players or not having swappability, just enter some extra lineups, split up your action and play some in the late slate, because you're going to get exposure to however that news breaks down. And you're not going to feel like you're at a complete loss.
So this is exciting. Probably the last thing you want to see is a player who is not on the injury report get ruled out, considering all the information we have.
Malcolm.
And so Malcolm Brogdon is not going to be playing tonight. And unfortunately, this is in the first game of the slate. I'm trying to avoid these early games to give myself more flexibility. But because I haven't considered the Celtics really at all today. What is some of the
I mean, here's the thing. Out of any of them, he's probably the one who matters the least. Like out of the core guards that are playing out there, because Derek White, he's still getting kind of the lion's share. We only saw 22 minutes. It was a blowout win for Malcolm Brogdon there, but I can't imagine that they don't just add some minutes for probably not like Luke Cornett or anything. Maybe Sam Hauser plays. Peyton Pritchard, did we get word? I think he got ruled out actually already, because that would have been somebody that would have mattered a little bit. But for the most part, I mean, maybe a slight bump for Marcus Smart, slight bump for Derek White, but 5,600 on FanDuel for Marcus Smart. That might be a problem.
Pritchard, by the way, is out officially. Just so we have that information out there. Yeah. Yeah, 5,600 for Marcus Smart is a very cheap price point on FanDuel. Some of the DraftKings salaries. Let's see, where do we have? Like I said, this was the last team I wanted to consider today.
5,500 for Smart. But point guard only, that's so hard to stomach from the early window.
It's a good price point. I would say I'm still not going to play him because I want to give myself flexibility, but he's a good points per dollar play.
Yeah. We'll see what ends up happening with the ownership. Obviously, we play not just a projection game, play the best plays, but we play an ownership game where range of outcomes comes into play. Marcus Smart is definitely somebody at 5,500 who could put up a ceiling if he plays 34 minutes, 35 minutes instead of the 31 and a half we had projected for him. So we'll keep an eye on it. I'm interested in figuring out, Malcolm Brogdon, it's not going to change the starting five. It's not going to change a lot. Like Grant Williams might get a little bit of a bump, 4,100. He might be the guy who runs into a couple more minutes in terms of a rotation. You got to start with who was out there in that Utah game, because he ended up playing 31 minutes in a start, put up 34. He's so unappealing from a fantasy point per minute perspective, but positionality, 4,100. Maybe he sees a little bit more run off the bench. They've surely not given it to Sam Hauser.
Yeah, we'll have to see what Eric Johnson says about Sam Hauser in chat.
No kidding.
If he could make it, if he could send messages in between his porn watching, whatever other blackout raging he does in chat, let us know what you think about Sam Hauser today, because he happens to be the Sam Hauser whisperer.
That Detroit game is a thing of legend.
We've got some more questions to answer. Well, some more. We've got a pile of questions. Haven't answered any of them yet. A couple super chats here, some questions in Discord. We'll start getting to those. Starting with our guy, Ace of Spade, his normal question. DK tiers, all of the rage in the super chats these days. He wants to know, didn't even ask the question, just said DK tiers ? And then said, thanks again, Greg. Appreciate you. Got it all locked and loaded here. Top
Me too.
plays for, oh, you did it today?
I did it today. Well, I mean, I've been hosting the last couple days, so like, who was going to do it if I wasn't going to do it? It was going to be a lot of problems then.
This is true. Tier 1, I have Luka Doncic the most. We go back and forth. Who did you have tier 1?
We just got Kyrie Irving ruled in, so I'm going to go Giannis Antetokounmpo.
All right. Yeah, it is still Luka for me. But the other thing, too, is if James Harden gets ruled out, it would be Joel Embiid. Mm-hmm. But for right now, it is Luka. It would end up being Embiid over Luka.
Yeah, so I'm going to have Giannis as a placeholder, and if that news comes out early, I would just play Giannis.
Tier 2 for me, Anthony Davis. I think it's a pretty easy one.
Anthony Davis, straightforward, yep.
Tier 3, also one that I have pretty comfortably, Devin Booker.
Comfortably Devin Booker.
Yeah, Devin Booker. Still no Kevin Durant. By the way, Kevin Durant all of a sudden is like a game or two away from returning. That came out of nowhere. But as for now, there's no Kevin Durant tonight, and it's a really, really fast-paced matchup against the Kings. So Devin Booker in tier 3. Mm-hmm. Tier 4, I have as Porzingis right now. James Harden could be a sneaky one. If we get the unforeseen scenario where he plays and Embiid sits, it's one of the permutations that could happen today. But I do have Porzingis right now in tier 4. Tier 5 for me is Fred VanVleet. Yourself?
To talk about tier 4 for 1 second, I like Zach LaVine right now because I have him a fantasy point away from Porzingis. And then if you get the James Harden news, as you said, then it's the nuts. So I would never want to like lock in James Harden and say that was the guy. For tier 5, Vooch for me.
Yeah, I went with Fred VanVleet. Him and Vooch, I do think, are fairly close. Of the two I got the most exposure to. And then tier 6 is Chris Paul. Desmond Bane, not too far behind for me. I'm just not exactly sure how many minutes Morant is going to play. The more Morant plays, the worse Desmond Bane looks. Something else I should note, though, it's Chris Paul right now. If SGA is out and Giddey plays, it becomes Giddey, though.
Agreed.
All right, there we go. Eric with the chipping in. I've never done the DK tiers with anybody else before. It's always
I had to actually work this way. Oh, wait, I work insane amounts anyway. Yes, it's correct. I like my Fridays that are off that I've done 4 VODs for today. No big deal, or 3, but whatever.
Yeah, I had 4 today. You and Adam, the 2 hardest workers at the company, is what
That's it. Those are the 2.
Super chat from Saif Din. Hi, best shooting guard / forward under 4,000. 2 picks. Thanks. All right. So the 2 best. Well, say he said guard / forward. So let's do 1 guard, 1 forward.
Okay.
For under 4K. I think that's a reasonable way to answer this.
And we're talking DK?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So guard first. Who do I have projected the best? Sub 4.
I mean, I've made a lot of assumptions in my projections today, so I want to like throw that out ahead of time and get ahead of it before, I start saying some shit that's going to not make sense to you.
Okay. So I'm interested then. Who do you have at guard with that in mind?
At guard right now, let's see. Is Isaiah Joe? Let me go over from DK.
He's 4,400.
He's 44. Okay, so then it wouldn't be him. I was just wondering what the salary difference. I'm playing more on FanDuel today, so I was making that assumption. Let me find the lowest. Ryan Arcidiacono.
It is Pat Connaughton for me, with Chris Middleton being out for the Bucks. So Pat Connaughton, And also, stuff that could change as more players get rolled out. For right now, it is.
Get ready for Ryan Arcidiacono starting the rest of the year for the Blazers. Just enjoy it, people.
My gut feeling, I don't think Dame plays another minute this season.
I think if you set the over-under at 0.5 games he plays the rest of the season, I would heavily juice the under to like minus 180 right now.
Here's the dumbest thing, though. Because he's on the injury report with rest for all intents and purposes. I know they're calling it a calf injury. When they've rested him, they've called it a calf injury for the last, I don't even know how long now. If they know that he's resting, potentially for the rest of the season, why not just rule him out now? Like, that's what I think is going to happen. I don't like the song and dance.
Yeah, I don't either. But also, did you expect me to say Ryan Arcidiacono when I said my favorite guard under 4K on DK?
No, but I understand why. Like, I think it's a reasonable assumption if you think that Harden doesn't, if you think that Lillard doesn't play and Arcidiacono starts. And
here's the problem is that, like, if he ends up starting, everybody's going to be able to get to him anyway, because a lot of people are going to have a ton of exposure to the late night window. So it is what it is. Again, if he doesn't start, then that becomes a moot point. Probably try to change that. Like, Aaron Wiggins is the identical price point on DK. That's a piece that I'm kind of interested in. If you get SGA out, there's a lot of iterations of that lineup for OKC that could be different. They did call up a ton of human beings, like Pokashevsky's in uniform tonight, it sounds like. That's not ideal. They called somebody else up from the G League. I got to find that here in a second. So I was adjusting some stuff on my end. It could be a very thin spot on this back-to-back where they just kind of consolidate those minutes in an annoying fashion.
Yeah, and that's also something that could end. Although, let me check, because we saw, if I'm not mistaken, the last time Dame was out, didn't Arcidiacono play like a fairly significant amount of minutes?
30 plus. So I looked at it earlier. This is the only reason that I had him projected. I have him projected for 23.5 fantasy points today. Last game he had 34 minutes it was February 23rd, played 34 minutes with all, like, everybody out. But, like, look at the injury report. You have no Jeremy Grant, Yusuf Nurkic, Anthony Simons, Damian Lillard, and Justice Winslow. Those would be their starting five if everybody was healthy.
By the way, to the other point you said like, oh, they had all these guys out that game. It's the exact same people that would be out today, though. It's the exact same injury report. So I don't think it's crazy to think that Arcidiacono could go out, start, and play the same 34 minutes he played in that game.
Yep.
So
I have tons of him right now. It's a placeholder to a certain extent, but, like, I do think it's greater than 50% that he starts today.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's a terrible prediction or assumption at all. Like I said, I think it's more likely than not that Damian Lillard sits. And based on what we saw last time, I think Arcidiacono would end up starting. I haven't pulled the trigger on that quite yet, but I'm also not playing the early games, try to give myself more flexibility, more time to gather more information. Forward, do you have anybody you really like at forward sub 4K?
I mean, I have a number of forwards that were guys that made sense. You could take a shot. Not on Luke Kennard. That's not correct. That's not who I was looking for. Let's see. I'm just going through my projections here because I know I had a couple of guys. So Lindy Waters, OKC, kind of fits in that bucket. I'm not sure who's going to be starting there if you get no SGA. I don't think you really need to be making some kind of an intelligent decision there. It doesn't. Again, we're going to be able to react to however these starting lineups look because we're backloading those right now. As it stands right now, I don't have anybody that is like jumping to the top for me that's 4K, sub 4K the way that guard could, especially like a 3,500 Ryan Arcidiacono. But I think Aaron Wiggins, Lindy Waters, something from the OKC side might end up starting surprisingly.
If they're both out, I think Jalen McDaniels is an excellent value play for the Sixers today. If there's no James Harden, there's no Joel Embiid, which I think is a somewhat likely scenario here. I think McDaniels would he's either going to move into the starting lineup or at the very least be the first big man off the bench and probably end up playing mid to high 20s minutes. And at the flat man would be a pretty good option.
Are you worried at all about Danuel House, who's like started a couple of these spots lately?
Yeah, but we haven't seen games where Harden and Embiid have both been out.
True. That's very true.
Yeah, we've seen House start, but I'm making under the scenario I just laid out, it's the assumption that Embiid and Harden would both be sitting.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, I think that's a sharp call, by the way.
House would start. He'd go out and play 20 minutes and score like 5 fantasy points.
Yeah, no, he sucks. He's terrible. He's filth. Shout out his family.
Starting lineup for the Celtics, nothing crazy there. Smart, White, Brown, Tatum, and Horford. Let's answer some more of these super chats. Josh G, who benefits the most with Dame out? A lot of guys.
Everybody. And there's no Simons, and there's no Grant, and there's no Nurkic. Like it's the whole team. That's the thing.
I mean, if I had to pick one guy, if we're just saying who benefits the most, like who gets the biggest points per dollar increase, it's Arcidiacono.
Yes.
If
Correct.
It's overall, given the, I guess, Shaedon Sharpe as somebody as of right now as well, I'll just say Arcidiacono is my answer.
Yeah, point per dollar, no doubt about it, Ryan Arcidiacono.
The next question is from Jay. Oh my God, Jay wants to know, Eric, who are your 6 favorite prize picks plays?
Oh, I got to throw them all out there. Well, because he wants to hit the 25x. Why not just put me on the spot for 25x? I can tell you there are a couple cards I've already made today where I just took advantage of news. So I had a lot of Chicago Bulls. I had Vooch, 38.5 fantasy score. Zach LaVine, 41 fantasy score. They're both projected for like 45 and 41 now, respectively. So those are good times. I have, let's see, Giannis Antetokounmpo, more than 30.5 points seems to be one that's threaded throughout a lot of my cards. I have more than 27.5 fantasy scored for Trendon Watford. We'll see if that has changed here. I'm sure they're like off the board. No, he's still 27.5 fantasy score. That is wild to me. It's FanDuel scoring that you're using over there. Once again, I do not expect Dame to play. If he does play, I think it's an efficient line. I'm far more certain that Damian Lillard is not playing another minute of basketball this season than I think most people might. And Trendon Watford immediately becomes somebody that you would just want to like have gobs of at 27.5 fantasy scores. So you could pretty much get anything that you wanted to from Watford and from the more category, and I'd be cool with that. So Giannis, 30.5. Anything you want. Vooch, what's Vucevic at? He's at 40.5 fantasy score now. That's a lot different than 38 earlier in the day. But like, again, I'm okay if you want to try to get a little bit of that with correlation, going positively with Trendon Watford.
Jet Wayman wants to know, is there any Ochai love? So I'm assuming he means
Agbaji?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, he's gotten to be priced at a point where I'm not super interested. But the other thing too is there's going to be so much good value later on the day. There's going to be a lot of guys that project similarly to Agbaji that are a lot cheaper.
Correct. And I mean, for me, it's one of those things too, where like THT and Chris Dunn are still going to be the guys that you're going to want to get to. I mean, maybe not Chris Dunn at 6K on FanDuel. That's a little weird, but for whatever reason, Talen Horton-Tucker's 5,500 on FanDuel, and I just cannot get away from it. He's now he's the most popular guy, I think, in our last run on the entire slate over there. I'm having a tough time not clicking on him, especially Will Barton. He was 61% on FanDuel in that last slate in the main tournament. He's now projected right around 50.6% ownership on FanDuel there. I'm going to be getting away from that, that's for sure. But I think, I think there's a lot of opportunity to get away from Agbaji, to get away from some of those ancillary Utah pieces that might have gone off one time in the last month, and just wait for that later games, those 4 games coming up later.
We just got word that Dennis Smith Jr. is going to be playing today, and a lot of guys out for the Charlotte Hornets. We've got them with no Terry Rozier. We've got them with, there was no update on Oubre. I would have liked to see Oubre because that's going to be important.
I was really looking forward to just jamming Teo Maledon on FanDuel today at 3,600. So this sucks because Dennis Smith Jr. is pulling a ton of ownership over there, and I think it's probably warranted with him in now. I just didn't want to do it. I really didn't. I mean, but look at the chalk on FanDuel today. How uncomfortable does this look? Talen Horton-Tucker, 56.7%. Will Barton, 50.6%. Dennis Smith Jr., 45.8%. Those are 3 highest known dudes, and I don't feel good about any of them.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to get the Kelly Oubre update. It's so hard to know what to make of the Hornets until we know that. It's also super. Everything the Hornets have done lately is annoying. The other day, we got the situation where, Rozier, he gets hurt during the game, only plays a quarter. Oubre only plays, what was it, 2 quarters. Dennis Smith Jr. leaves in the 3rd quarter with an illness. So what is the current ownership on Dennis Smith right now, by the way? We've got Dennis Smith at 51% ownership over on DraftKings. FanDuel, he is projected for 46% ownership. What was that?
I was just hurling. It's not fun.
Just because of Dennis Smith?
Yeah. You telling me you want to play on a 10-game slate with more point guard value coming up potentially later, that you want to be playing a chalk Dennis Smith at 50%? I don't.
I have him in lineups. I don't have him as much as the field, but I am getting to him.
I know. And that's what I said. I was hoping that he was going to be out so I could just play the other garbage piece that's just way cheaper in Teo Maledon.
Yeah. Well, he's in. So relative to that ownership, we talked about, he's super popular. He's going to be in half the field's lineups. Play him in cash games for sure, everybody. Tournaments, though, what do you expect you're going to be? Like, how much underweight to the field you're willing to come in on him?
I think it just depends when all the news trickles in from the late night window. If it comes out before, maybe I'll allow myself to have a little bit, but I doubt it. Like, I think no matter what, I'm probably going to be trimming ownership on it. It's all relative to what their chances to be optimal are, relative to their chances of booming in the boom bust score. You can be, or the boom bust score, boom bust tool. There we are. You just upload the data directly into Cruncher. It's pretty easy to look side by side. You can basically build lineups off of it. It's the coolest tool ever over at Stochastic. So if you have access to it, like Greg and I do, like everybody doing these shows does, you get an opportunity to build better lineups just by default. So if that news comes out beforehand and we can update everything on our end to be able to reflect the chances of booming for guys like Tyrese Maxey with James Harden, to Ryan Arcidiacono without a Damian Lillard, with Josh Giddey without SGA, all of those being potential, of course. I probably get to next to none Dennis Smith Jr. at his current ownership.
If you guys want access to those tools Eric is talking about, link below, 50% off any package that you sign up for. And you know what you also could do? You go sign up at BetMGM, who's the sponsor. They're giving you all this free bonus money. You make some money off the free money they give you. You take some of that money, you sign up for a Stochastic Plus Platinum membership.
Bet 365.
Oh, what did I say?
It's okay.
What did I say?
It's whatever. Jordan Klein's just being noisy.
Oh, my bad. Bet 365. Bet 365.
Dang good five. Let me suck it to you one more time. Get low like an 18-wheeler. Go ahead.
They got to take the name bet out of their name. They can't all be bet something.
Yeah, they can.
I mean, they can. It's just going to be very confusing for me in the last couple minutes. So bet 365. You go sign up with $1, and it's going to get you $365 in bonus money. Use that to make more money. Take that money, sign up for Stochastic. It parlays itself. We all love parlays around here. Easy way to do it. Some more super chats, by the way. Cheers, Brew. So Denny and Kristaps are locks for DK cash. Yes, I would absolutely play them in cash games. The only reason I am not going to be playing them in tournaments, and it's not because I don't think they project well, I just want flexibility to roster really good value plays that are going to be lower owned. Play Denny and Porzingis in cash, though.
Yes.
Let's see. What else do we have for super chats? I saw that there was a handful of them.
So you're not playing anything from the first two games, period.
Nope.
End of story.
I took it out of Fantasy Cruncher. Just unselected it.
You were a sick person. I can't pass up on 8,900 Kristaps Porzingis on FanDuel. I can't. Mamukashvili starting as we expected, and that is also going to be something that I can't live without.
Let's see. No, I don't need mommy in my lineups. I don't need him.
You're more of a daddy's boy.
Yeah. $4,800 on DraftKings center eligible only. I know FanDuel, he has the power forward eligibility. FanDuel, they just give him random positions. Where's
you didn't see that one coming.
I don't think at $5,600 that I need to play a lot of mommy on FanDuel.
No, you don't. Again, just call Scuba. You can hang with him.
How high of a priority play is he going to be for you, Sandro?
High of a priority? No, I'm just saying that I will have some of him.
Oh, okay.
He's going to be in my pool. He's 4,800 on DraftKings.
4,800 center only. Listen, I'm committed to not playing the early games.
Yeah, no, you've made that very apparent. I think that won't be an issue.
Was parent supposed to be a pun there?
No.
Oh, it was
apparent.
It was clever by accident.
Oh, you're clever. You're a funny little guy.
Let's go check out the Discord and see what questions we have in there. This one is from Lippy. Please tell me why Svi is a good play at Wait, please tell me why Svi is a good play at 3K and no ownership on DK.
Why isn't he, or why is he? Because
why
obviously,
I don't think he's a good play, so
I don't either. He did start the second half yesterday. Again, everything we're talking about goes out the window if you end up getting Kelly Oubre ruled out. So we can't really react to it until we know that. I do think Svi probably ends up starting in the event. He played 29 minutes yesterday. It's still Svi Mikhailuk, and he sucks. He's terrible. He is no good at the game of basketball. But yeah, shooting guard, small forward, 3K. If he ends up starting and Kelly Oubre's out, the circumstances are changed. As it stands right now, I would have 0.
Yeah, Eric hasn't told you guys the story about the time he played Svi one-on-one in basketball. And Svi actually, at the end of the game, Eric beat Svi so handily that Svi actually just handed his NBA contract over to Eric. That's why he was out of the league for a little bit. But with that said, if Svi is playable if Oubre's out and he starts. I'm not playing him as is right now, though.
Yeah, he ended up starting the second half yesterday. I think it's something to keep in the back of your mind, and you should have a little bit in the event that he ends up starting. Actually, you should probably have more than a little bit.
Uploading these stupid lineups I've built right now. We're all good to go. Some more questions in Discord. This is from Sniffs1234. So who starts for the Blazers tonight? Archie, Little, Reddish, Watford, Eubanks. He's assuming that no Dame plays. Let's see. What am I going to assume the starting lineup is? Let me look at the...
if we assume that Damian Lillard is out, and I have done that, he is not in my pool. I don't have him. I think it's Ryan Arcidiacono, Shaedon Sharpe, Matisse Thybulle.
Yep.
Trendon Watford, Drew Eubanks.
Yep, same page. So, Sniffs, the one player you didn't mention in there that I think is very likely to start is Sharpe. Sharpe started and played, 40 minutes last game?
Yeah, he played great. He was the hero of my FanDuel life.
Yeah, he played 40 minutes and scored right around 50 fantasy points. If the Blazers are committed to not playing Dame, it's because they're packing it in for the season. That would really correlate with Shaedon Sharpe playing more minutes, because why would you not give your first round pick more minutes in that scenario? Right? It's going to be Sharpe playing massive minutes down the stretch if Damian is actually getting shut down today.
Yep.
Would have to be Sharpe in their starting.
Yep. People are talking about Schroeder. Again, everything is at guard. Like, we're talking about all these late night window guys. Point guard is just going to have a treasure trove of opportunity to get to guys. Yeah, Dennis Schroeder would be awesome if you have no D'Angelo Russell.
Swaz, if I'm playing one lineup, would you play Marcus Smart on FanDuel or wait for news? I would wait for news.
I would wait for news. But Marcus Smart is still a decent play.
The Black Mamba, he wants to know, can we talk about what we're going with for Charlotte tonight? Stick around for the post-lock show. It is really hard to know until we get the Oubre news. We're going to find out sometime in the post-lock show because that game locks. Well, actually, we might not. The game locks at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Hopefully, we'll find out in the post-lock show whether Oubre's in or out. We'll come back with an update, though, at some point. Maybe we'll do some permutations if Oubre's in, if Oubre's out. For right now, I kind of need some more info on Oubre. Some other questions that we have in our Discord channel. This is Big Dream $. Dame will go out in front of the home crowd, not on the road, don't you think? It's the team's decision. It's not even his call.
Yeah. Well, it kind of is, because he kind of has ran this team, but not necessarily well at times. He's asked for certain things. He didn't want to play with McCollum anymore. This Josh Hart thing, I doubt he had anything to do with. That was one of the weirder decisions. But yes, as he said, why would you have your franchise guy when you're a 13th seed in the West right now go out there and play when you basically have no chance to make the playoffs?
Question from Lippy. He fell up. He's 0 Sam Hauser today. So there we go. No Sam Hauser for Lippy.
Thank God.
Manny.
I was waiting for him to say 100, and then we were dead.
Oh, yeah. Last time, the Sam Hauser just absolute explosion game where he shot 80% from 3.
A little bit of how's your father.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. The pinnacle of Lippy in chat.
That was absurd.
Manny, fade Barton on FanDuel for 3 max. If you're playing 3 lineups on FanDuel, would Will Barton be in any of them?
No. I have 0 of a guy who's 50% owned right now.
That is a no, Manny.
Here, I mean, can we talk about it? Because again, he's the second most popular player on FanDuel now, and I don't understand. He's 52.1% owned. He's been terrible all season long. He's a sub 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy. He started last game. He played 22 minutes. He basically played the beginning of the entire first quarter, had like a tiny bit of run towards the end of the second quarter, played the beginning of the third quarter, and then didn't come back out for a while there. He put up, 4-3? Of course, he went 0 for 5 from 3. So yeah, if he knocks down some shots, maybe he can be more effective there. But like, I would just rather wait on news, because again, I would rather play an Archie Diacono who's going to be 1/5 of that ownership. I would rather play if something happens to Russell, if something happens to SGA, if something happens to Lillard. There's so many spots that are just way better than locking in a dude who's 3,700, because on FanDuel, the pricing's softer anyway. You have enough, and I'm saying this, FanDuel's done a great job of pricing this season. I will say that. I wish I had been playing over there more until just this week, but like, I have no interest in Will Barton today on FanDuel.
No, I think that's reasonable. He's going to be really popular. He's been absolute dog shit this year, but insane dog shit. Adam and I were talking about some of the EPM ratings for some of these players. And if I'm not mistaken, Will Barton was 8th worst in the NBA, 7th worst, somewhere around there.
Not surprising.
What's funny though, is 2nd worst was Ish Smith, and they were trading for each other. So that was something to look at. But yeah, Barton's been rough this year. He's someone I'm going to be underweight to in tournaments. Some more questions in Discord. Eric Johnson wants to know how much money it costs to start an OnlyFans. It's a better question for Jordan Klein, if we're being honest.
Jordan Klein. Also, when did you put on a shirt today?
Yeah,
you didn't even have a shirt on this morning.
Here's what happened. So Chris Karen, who's our head of production around here, today is his last day. He was Jordan's boss for the longest amount of time. And Chris played a massive part of improving the production around our shows. And, they always say dress for the job that you want, not the job you have. And for a very long time, Jordan dressed like he wanted to be a homeless person. And now that he has this opportunity to get some, a little bit extra shine around here, he's his own boss now. He doesn't have Chris managing him. Jordan started wearing shirts with sleeves. So that's really the big thing, is I think Jordan sees a promotion in his future, and he realizes like, oh man, I should probably show up to work sober and with sleeves on. So that's, but then
Chris left, and then he immediately went back to his remedial ways. This morning did a different show for a different place, and I'm pretty sure I saw into his belly button from underneath his shirt. It was so low hanging, it was absurd. Oh yeah, it was great stuff. Nice shirt though. You look nice, Jordan.
We've got Manny wants to know Porzingis or Siakam for a FanDuel single entry. For FanDuel, I would say Porzingis over Siakam.
Porzingis, yeah, I would too. And I still like Siakam. You got the news, no Scotty Barnes, no Gary Trent. So I like him. But if you're telling me one between the two of them, definitely Porzingis.
Some more super chats coming in, so we'll try to get through these. A bunch of them just came in the last few minutes. Brian Cook, Greg, I was skeptical of what you said, but seeing it with my own eyes, I think you're right. Eric's hair plugs are nearly undetectable.
Oh my God.
You've got a keen sense of what's happening, Brian Cook. I like you.
So dumb. You guys are so dumb.
It's a sharp man right there.
What's it like being so dumb?
I don't know, because I'm too stupid to comprehend it. It's just this is how I exist in my life.
Glad that is now known to the people.
James Magruder, top plays at each position or locks on DK. This is so tricky right now because I'm still holding a lot of my spots open. But I mean, let's go through it and try to help people right now. So if we just had to say right now who our most roster players are at each position, for me at point guard, it would be Drew Holiday. Yourself at point guard?
At point guard, it is. I'm just waiting for it to update everything
by the time more news comes out.
Ryan Arcidiacono.
Yeah, so Drew Holiday for me. I'm gonna like Holiday either way though. Shooting guard for me, Pat Connaughton as of right now. Yourself?
Taylor Horton Tucker. I don't like it.
Small forward for me is Fontecchio right now. Yourself?
THT and Austin Reeves. What a time to be alive.
Power forward, I have also Fontecchio. PJ Washington is another one I get a good amount of exposure to. If Oubre is ruled out, I'm going to like PJ Washington a good amount.
Yeah, so Chris Boucher, we haven't talked about him at all yet, but I'm absolutely obsessed with him and not going to be passing him up. And then Drew Eubanks, you can play a power forward on FanDuel.
And then center for me is Anthony Davis.
Yeah, so we're looking at Chris Boucher still. So there you go. And Anthony Davis, those are the two.
And JW just asked us on our thoughts on Boucher for DK single entry. Last slate, he was super low. He wasn't like 25% on last slate.
It depends where you're playing. He was lower on DK than I was expecting. On FanDuel, he still got to like 18%. I think it was in like the $15 I have to go back and check from what I remember. But he ended up actually being a little bit more popular than I was expecting on FanDuel. I talked about him for a long time. We didn't have him projected very highly. Like we had him projected for maybe like 5-6%, and I just kind of jammed him. It ended up working out in the end, but if I had known what his ownership was and that people were going to actually get there, I would have had less of him.
By the way, all these questions about Chris Boucher. We just got another one. Douglas Bowman, Gordon Hayward Day in Charlotte. That's not what Adam calls him, but Gordon Hayward Day in Charlotte. And with Barnes out again, another Boucher 25 plus minutes off the bench. So yeah, another Boucher question. I have Boucher exposure as well. I think he's worth getting to today. And then Gordon Hayward. I don't know why Gordon Hayward's still playing at this point. I don't know why they didn't trade him. I don't know why they're still running him out there for big minutes. But yeah, I think he's going to look pretty good if Oubre's out.
I mean, maybe Michael Jordan needs him as a golf partner or something because, well, Michael Jordan's trying to sell a basketball team now at this point, so he doesn't even give a shit. But Gordon Hayward, yeah, I have no interest in Gordon Hayward unless everybody's going to be out.
JEW was saying that he was super high owned in higher dollar single entries. Yeah, I think I remember him being like 35% owned or something in the $100 single entry last slate. I think it's a good slate to get to Chris Boucher. Jake Lindland, DK single entry, Holiday and Levine, and then $3,400 or Giannis and $7,900 for the two remaining spots. So I like Holiday a lot. I like Giannis as well.
I will say the best thing about Gordon Hayward, while we're on the subject, you all have to look up the gender reveal video when he found out he was having his 5th daughter. Yeah. It is the funniest thing I've ever seen. All he wants is a boy. He just walks inside and the girls are like, Daddy. They like made him a cake and everything. And he just walks inside and closes the door.
So it's incredible. If it's the same one I'm thinking of, it's his 3rd daughter. They're finding out the gender reveal. He walks in, he just kind of hits a balloon and he's like, no, Daddy's happy. They're like, one of his daughters says, Daddy, what's wrong? He says, Daddy's happy. And then he hits a balloon. That's how I'm like 90% there.
Daddy is happy. Yep. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. Dude, Sean V is being a dick today. Enjoy timeout. Quit being a dick. How about that?
As for the answer to Jake Lindland's question, Holiday, Levine, and $3,400 or Giannis and $7,900 for the two remaining spots. Giannis and the $7,900 for the two remaining spots. We don't know who the players are going to be. I promise you a lot of value is going to open up after lock.
That is correct.
Were there more super chats in here? I answered all the ones Jordan had sent to me. Let me check Discord and see what's going on in there. Did you get lineups uploaded that are going to be changed later on?
Yeah. I'm just making sure that I have the right amounts of Tatum and Brown that I want to. Because again, I'm not a self-hating, self-loathing person who's going to pass up 60 fantasy points potentially against an Indiana team here. So I'm making sure I get the right amount of that.
Yeah, I like everybody knows by now, I'm foregoing it. We'll see how that ends up going. Could go very poorly.
I don't hate it. Again, I don't hate it, but like, I'm not going to pass up on those ceilings necessarily. I'll intertwine it mainly because if people are going to do exactly what you're doing, I'll just hope that I can spike the massive ceiling and react to the news and have the nuts later.
We got a super chat from Power Books. There's no question, but he did follow up afterwards and said that he doesn't have a question. Just wanted to say he loves the post-lock show and highly suggests tuning in. Always great content. Look at this guy. Power Books.
Dude,
we appreciate
what is going on?
Super chat.
People are being very nice today. Well, except for Sean V, but he's always a dick and he's an idiot, so it doesn't matter.
Some more super chats. This next one is from Daniel Campbell. Is 20% Poku too much? It's more than I have.
There's an outside chance. Again, I don't want to say this, and then I think there's a legitimate chance Poku starts tonight, and I'm going to just lose my mind. I think there's a very, very real chance he starts.
If he starts, load up on him. Right. I don't think he's going to start. I think he's going to come off the bench and play like 22 to 24 minutes. That's what.
And then he'll start the second half and just ruin the slate.
So here's what I'm confident in. Whatever the starting lineup is for the Thunder in the first half is not going to be the starting lineup in the second half.
They've been doing the Olivier Sarr thing now to Jalen Williams, even when Jalen Williams is playing well. It's been some of the weirdest stuff to watch I've ever seen lately.
We got the news god, El Negro Loco. Who is worse, Sean V or Brandon Katz? Everybody's my friend. There is no worse.
Oh, well, you're nice. And how am I bad cop in this equation? That's not okay.
Because I don't ban people from chat.
Oh, I do.
Well, Brandon Katz, I think, stopped showing up. I haven't
Good.
seen him here for like.
Oh no, he's been here like every day, every single day when I was hosting. I think what it is that now he knows that like I'm not hosting, and he just is like going to be on good behavior for you. He's just sitting there waiting until I host again to be a nuisance. So whatever.
Douglas Bowman, Harden or Embiid, one sits 100% maxi, right? I wouldn't play 100% maxi. If Embiid and Harden are both out, I'll play a ton of maxi. Not if only one of them are out. I'll play him not 100% though.
If you had to play one player 100% on DK today, who would it be? Like Penn, if every piece of news, again, that's such a theoretical question. Mm-hmm. Like I would play as much Dennis Schroeder as I could if he starts and you have no D'Angelo Russell. I would want a lot of Austin Reeves on FanDuel in that regard. Like I truly can't see a scenario where I would play 100% of anybody today unless something really extreme happened.
If it had to be one guy on DK, it would be Anthony Davis.
Okay. I don't completely hate it.
There's going to be so much value, and he's not priced correctly. He's 10,500 on DraftKings, a matchup against OKC, who's in a really weird situation. It seems like they're begrudgingly winning games. They're winning games like, fuck, we did it again. What do we do tomorrow? And then like, do we sit SGA? Do we let him play? So I think this could be a really easy matchup. Like we're talking about the possibility of Pokusevski starting after not playing in multiple months with a broken leg. Like that's going to be the matchup AD might have. He will destroy Pokusevski.
He broke his effing leg.
And non-contact. His leg just broke. He was like jogging up the court. And he's so frail and he's so skinny. His leg just gave out, turned to dust. That's actually liable to happen to almost every single big man OKC has drafted the last couple of years.
Yeah. He got the Liz Frank injury with that was so fluky in Seattle. It was like at LeBron James's pickup game up there or something for Chet Holmgren. I was really, really hoping Chet Holmgren was going to get healthy at the very, very end of the season, but sounds like he's just not going to play at all.
T. Lee, not sure if you saw my last two questions, but we're at lock. Yeah, we answered. We went position by position.
Sure
and did. gave out the players that we like the most as of right now, with the caveat of that it's not going to be who we're on.
Yeah. With the caveat that everything we said is meaningless.
The other thing that's unfortunate is we went through this entire show and basically got none of the injury news we need. None of it.
Nope.
So hopefully in the next 30 minutes, we're going to get it. Here is what the NBA injury report currently looks like. It's going to sound pretty familiar to what we talked about. I was going to say an hour ago, except that's not the case because the show before us went long. So it's what we talked about 52 minutes ago. Here are the players that are on the injury report. Joel Embiid is questionable. James Harden is questionable. Damian Lillard is questionable. SGA is questionable. We did officially get word that John Moran is coming off the bench. D'Angelo Russell is questionable. Kelly Oubre is still questionable. Those are the guys I would group together as being the most important news that I just absolutely need for today's slate.
Correct.
Let me see the next slate of games. Am I going to potentially take the 7:30 Eastern time?
No, you're not. You're playing Toronto. You're playing some Pascal. You're playing some Fred VanVleet. You're playing Jakob Poeltl. I'm looking at FanDuel as I'm saying that mainly because they are just really good plays over there, but there's no Gary Trent. There's no Scotty Barnes. And then Chris Boucher. I'm just in love with Chris Boucher in general. I always play him. I always advocate for him. Nick Nurse doesn't. So there's that. But I do. I think he's an offensive monster from time to time. And there's no reason he shouldn't be playing like normal backup run, like a normal basketball coach would normally give a backup run to, but whatever. They don't have a choice. Chris Boucher has to play some backup five. Delano Banton out there as well. And Malachi Flynn is terrible at playing the role of a point guard and guarding anybody. So Fred VanVleet's going to play his normal 38, 40 minutes. I mean, it's just such a smash spot for all of them.
Yeah, the one I'm definitely going to be underweight to, we've talked about as we went on, Will Barton. And played Will Barton in cash games, by the way. Just tournaments, a little too popular for me.
0% on FanDuel.
Oh, look at you. I don't have
I said 0.
I don't have him on DraftKings right now.
I love it. I think he is, without a doubt, the fish play of the day. I would actually be very surprised if he ended up with like similar ownership to what we've had there of late. Like he was 61% on FanDuel last slate. Now, does he drop to like 35% or something as a result of the one game? Then maybe you could have a conversation. I made a mistake, but we haven't projected for 52%. And if he were like north of 40%, I wouldn't want any. So I'm definitely, he's not even in my player pool. That's not changing.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you. He's not somebody that I'm going to be getting exposure to. Just too much ownership, and I think there's going to be better value plays that open up later. Will Barton sucked this year.
And also, Will Barton could put up 25, and I have options in the late night window that could be way better.
Yeah, oh, wait a second though.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Johnson is 100% Will Barton. Although I think Barton should project well today. I'm not gonna dispute that at all.
Well, why would it be Eric Johnson? Lippy, why you got to do that?
This is different. The time that he was on Sam Hauser was projected for almost no ownership. He ended up being popular. And by the way, Porzingis 50% owned. I'm pretty happy I don't have Porzingis now.
Yeah, started the game. Hauser started the game making 4 threes in a row. That's how he started the game.
Over at 14, you're gonna like the super chat, Eric. I'll read I'll read the second part.
I can already tell you I don't like it.
Eric, your hair is awesome. Now tell me why you don't like it.
Oh, I do. Never mind. I just expected the worst. You had me bracing for impact. It was like Armageddon and Deep Impact that came out in the same year at the same time. Why? I don't know. We needed 2 Meteor movies.
And Olrat likes your hair. He would have liked you in those movies.
Appreciate it.
Olrat 14. Chuck Deuce's Hauser wasn't popular that day. I mean, it's relative. He ended up being, I think it was 15% owned off the top of my head. Like he was owned.
He was owned. He was more owned than we expected or projected. That is correct.
Olrat, his actual DFS question was how much done on DK?
I mean, DK is the only place to play him. FanDuel, he's more expensive than THT, and that makes no sense. So, let's see how much I ended up with. Again, this is also going to change drastically. You have to know that. It's still 2 hours away. All that matters is what time we get all of the evening games news. And even if we did, I think Chris Dunn 5,500 over there. I think he's worthy of playing a couple of lineups, but like you could end up having players that project for exponentially more fantasy points, like a Tyrese Maxey, a DeAnthony Melton, and you would want to have 0 Dunn.
I don't have Dunn in my player pool right now. The other thing too is I don't expect him to play a ton of minutes.
I have 6%.
Which is that's a few. It's nothing crazy. But so we've got there's no Jordan Clarkson. McClarkson's been out. There's no Lauri Markkanen. We've seen Markkanen out in recent games. Dunn played 23 minutes last game.
Yeah, it was it got a little bit wonky against Portland last game. Yeah, it was like really wonky. They ended up bringing, let me find the popcorn machine of it, because he played 30-ish minutes before that, didn't he? In the game before?
Game against the Kings, he played a bunch of minutes, but
it was competitive. They won. I know it was over 30.
Look at all of the other recent games for Dunn.
I know, but I mean, there's more guys out now than what were out then. Lauri Markkanen, he matters a lot.
Yeah, I don't think Markkanen being out means more minutes for Dunn though.
I'm just saying that like it, and I think that's kind of where the interesting balance is, because like I don't think Dunn plays blowout run, which is really weird because he's the backup point guard and you would want blowout run, but like for whatever reason he didn't play. All right, I just found it here. So Chris Dunn came off the floor. Oh, he played like the entire fourth quarter last game. Let's see.
Yeah, so last game, and
for some reason he played like one stretch there. He played, yeah. I'm a little nervous actually looking at this. I guess I overlooked this. He is. I mean, he basically
was in foul trouble last game as well, right?
That's true. Yep.
And so Dunn played 23 minutes because THT played 25. They generally don't share the court together.
Yep. This is interesting. I like talking through this stuff. Again, it's a 10-game slate. Stuff's going to fall through the cracks from time to time, but like I went through Utah today and I didn't see this. So, Markkanen, what was the major thing? Is Johnny Juzang questionable still? Yes, he is. Okay. So that's one piece to pay attention to, because he's actually played that first rotation in the second quarter and then first rotation fourth quarter in the last couple games. He played 13 minutes last time. That's actually an injury that matters.
If he's out, they only have 9 active players.
Then you're going to play some Chris Dunn.
Yes. But as of right now, Like I have Chris Dunn for 24 minutes, and I think it's totally reasonable.
Yep, it is.
It's what he's played basically every game other than 2 games ago where THT got into foul trouble.
Yep.
So the other games, Chris Dunn. So last game he plays 23. The game before that he plays 31. Before that 20 minutes, 21 minutes, 16, 23, 24. That's where I feel like he's going to be. Low to mid 20s minutes. Unless we find out Juzang's out, then you just got extra minutes that have to be filled.
That is correct.
What is this news that we just got? I have so many alerts on my phone. So many things happening right now.
We had a lot of UFC news come in while we were on this too. A lot of new fights showing up.
Did we have? Oh, but it's for for future,
like future fights. Yeah, I know. But still, gotta.
All right. What is the NBA news that just came in? Mark Williams will have a minutes limit off the bench, and Dennis Smith Jr. officially starting. No Oubre news? They're not going to tell us anything about Oubre?
Nope. They hate us. They are the Jordan Kleins of the world. Nick Richards will remain in the starting lineup.
Yeah, Mark Williams. It's going to be, they're probably each going to play like 24 minutes, if I had to guess.
Sure. Yeah.
Which I do have to guess. It's part of the gig.
Thank you. Yes.
No games have tipped off yet. Pretty late. Nope. 9 minutes past lock time. Which game tips off first, Eric?
I really
Celtics,
don't care.
Pacers or Wizards, Spurs?
Let's go with Boston, Indy.
I'm going to say Wizards, Spurs just because everybody wants to get that game over with. Like none of the players want to be there. The coaches don't. It's probably going to be an empty arena. They just want to get that thing off.
Last night, breaking down 10 games the night before with as much injury news as there was coming up today, it was just like, it was like the true beginning of late season NBA. Because like I've been able to tolerate the last couple weeks and be able to say, hey, pay attention to this. I had no idea what was going to happen today. And then Damian Lillard getting downgraded to questionable. Pretty sure he's now out. So changes a play there. Pretty positive we're going to look at a situation where James Harden sits in against Golden State. So there's that. Lots of things changing.
Do you know we only have 2 weeks left in the NBA regular season?
I know.
And then do you know what happens?
Baseball
is about to be starting up, and you guys should be signing up at our site for baseball season because we've got some of the best stuff available for baseball. I love our top stacks tool. It's something that is invaluable for me when I'm building out my baseball lineups. And it's been a minute since we've gone over some of the baseball promos. But have you seen the offer that we have going to start the year?
I did, but I would like you to tell the people.
All right. So for baseball, where is the promo code? Jordan, what's the promo code again?
So here MLB is back.
It was on page 2 of my promo reads. So the sponsor, it didn't really change. It stayed the same, but I had some faulty information on what the sponsors. So I have so many ad reads in my sheet because some of them weren't relevant to the show. But here it is. I scrolled down further and found it. Promo code MLB is back. The reason that's the promo code is because MLB is back. It's about to be starting up next week. Baseball comes back. And to celebrate the return, 50% off a monthly Stochastic Platinum subscription. This is going to get you access not only to MLB, but also to MMA, also to, I was going to say NFL, but like, what are you going to do with NFL? But it's typically included with the Platinum package, NBA, MLB, NHL, MMA, any DFS sport you guys could think of, we've got it covered. We've got F1 projections, NASCAR. All of that is included in our Stochastic Platinum package, and you get access to this 50% off for 1 month using the promo code MLB is back. So gear up for the baseball season. Join us and all the tools we have here signing up using that promo code. Let's look at some of our best bets for today. We didn't really get a chance to go through the bets. We talked about Bet365, which is the easiest way for you guys to make $365. You sign up, you use our link below, $1 bet, $365 coming back into your account in bonus bets. But let's try to find some of the best overall bets for tonight, Eric. And let's see what's changed, because I don't know what's on the board. A lot of shit has gone down over the last hour.
Yes, really.
Pulling up our data right now. Looking at NBA Bet Pro. Is there anything that you've placed bets on that stands out to you immediately?
Yeah, I got a lot. I have a lot of PRA that are in play.
Okay.
Prize picks elsewhere. Lots of opportunities to go get yourself $1 today. So Kelly Olynyk starting off the bat. I know that was something that was popping both. NBA Bet Pro primarily, but Kelly Olynyk over 24.5 PRA minus 125. You got no Lauri Markkanen. You got to find somebody to be an offensive catalyst there. If that game's going to stay remotely intact, Kelly Olynyk, somebody that I know we have projected for much, much higher than 24.5 PRA. Just because he didn't do it last time doesn't mean anything to me. I think the circumstances here are very, very good for Kelly Olynyk at that kind of a number. Nikola Vucevic talked about him earlier from a fantasy score perspective over on Prize Picks. I think from a sportsbook perspective, you have 34.5 as his PRA going up against Trendon Watford and Drew Eubanks on the interior. That is just a fantastic spot. No DeMar DeRozan. Pretty in love with that spot. Another PRA that I like. Steph Curry, 37.5 PRA going up against that Philadelphia side. I don't think James Harden ends up out there, but again, Golden State needs to just keep winning basketball games. They're back at home. I don't know what to make of their home road splits. I don't buy into them completely. There's something there, not to the extent of which we've seen so far, but love that one as well. Lots of PRAs that somehow found their way to the top for me.
Nice. Yeah, it's one of the new additions that we have to NBA Bet Pro, which, by the way, you guys can get 7-day access totally free using the link we have below. But we added PRAs yesterday. I believe was the first day that we had PRA projections added to this. So pretty good addition to this. Pretty excited about it. So there's a bet in here that really stands out to me. And I'm curious to know, what do you think the role for John Morant is going to be tonight?
So he played 24 minutes that first game back, and he, for all intents and purposes, looked fantastic. But I got to imagine they're going to incrementally just kind of boost him up there. It's the same identical Houston matchup. That last one stayed competitive. There's a chance it gets non-competitive and he somehow plays fewer. But I think more than likely you're going to see like a 2-minute boost, 2.5-minute boost. I would say I'd put the line at like 26.5 minutes.
So the reason that I bring it up is one of our top bets right now is under 6.5 assists for Tyus Jones. Every minute that we see more of John Morant, I tend to think that means we're going to see a little bit less of Tyus Jones. 6.5 is a pretty big assist prop for somebody who has the potential to not lose out on a lot of his playing time, because we still have John Morant coming off the bench, still being limited. 6.5 assists, I do think, is fairly high, though. I like the under. We've got him projected for 5.4. Is 6.5 to you? It's down a little bit. Tyus Jones was like 7.5 some of these games without John Morant. I bet under 6.5 for Tyus Jones. I like that number. Do you like that number, though?
I do. And I also think, we haven't traditionally seen them share the floor very much. They shared the floor a lot in that first quarter, and I do not think that is going to be the norm going forward. So they probably wanted to see how Ja was playing, have Tyus Jones bring the ball up, give John Morant some opportunities, some looks to penetrate. You obviously saw all the great finishes he had right at the rim the other night. I think it's going to be a spot where maybe they fire that up a little bit, but Ja looked pretty comfortable out there. If I put him up to 26.5, I'm going to take a minute and a half off of the 27 minutes that he played last game for Tyus Jones, put him around 25.5. Unders do look pretty good there. I think that's a pretty good find by NBA Bet Pro.
If you had to go to a strip club with John Morant or Plaxico Burress, who are you choosing?
John Morant. Younger, hipper, probably knows the staff.
He's a little bit safer with his firearms. A little bit safer. So in the video, he's waving it around. He didn't shoot himself like Plaxico did.
He did not. So there's that. It was probably he had the safety on because he's smarter.
Potentially. But like Porzingis off to a big start. 5 points, 2 rebounds, an assist, and a block 4 minutes into the game.
Told you I couldn't live without him.
Slow start for Denny Avdia, though.
Yeah, I have way less of him compared to Porzingis.
And then on the Spurs side of the game, pretty quick start for Keldon Johnson with 4 rebounds and an assist. And as for the foul situation, no fouls on anybody.
Mamu 4-1. Don't undersell Mamu.
Yep, Mami 4 points and an assist for him. He is 2 of 2 from the field.
So you and Neil told me that you guys couldn't say Mamukashvili, so you guys just started calling him Mommy. It's pretty great.
That's his name. That's what he asked me to call him.
Okay. And you call me Daddy, so it makes sense.
Whatever people tell me to call him, I don't care. It makes no difference for me. If he texts me,
that's
says,
where you
"Call
have
me
to say,
mommy,"
and you
what
have
do
to
I
call
care?
me boss. So it works out nicely this way, but you missed it. It's all right.
Exactly. Let's go. Oh, so the Celtics Pacers game. We've got the Celtics up 14-9. Not too much else happening in that game from a fantasy standpoint. So now we've got the next game that is locking at 7:30. So the Detroit-Toronto game. We've got 12 minutes to go until that. Because now we're starting to get to a spot where this is a game that I'm not going to entirely take out of my player pool. Really large spread in this game, though. It is 13.5 points on Toronto. And then we'll talk about this and we'll get back to some bets. Who are the players in order that you have the most interest in from Toronto?
In order, Chris Boucher, I know, is one. Let me pull my stuff up. I'll do FanDuel. You've got DK covered. Okay. So for FanDuel purposes, Chris Boucher is one. Then, Chris Boucher, I have 40% of right now. Jakob Poeltl is 2 at 28%. Pascal Siakam, 22%. And Fred VanVleet, 20%. So pretty hefty numbers on all of those 4 core Toronto guys.
Yes. So for me, it is, and by the way, somehow Kristaps Porzingis lost 2 real life points. So that's a weird stat correction.
Well, that's good for you. Bad for everybody else. Somebody said, any Bobby Portis love tonight? Is this a boxing match? Then yes.
Yeah, that's going to be a no for me on Bobby Portis. So the players for me, number 1 is Fred VanVleet, 2 Chris Boucher, 3 Pascal Siakam. Points per dollar, mentioned before. Will Barton should project well on a points per dollar base. It's just too much ownership for me.
I don't care about point per dollar when you're 3,700 and I need 30 out of the spot. Like it's projected for sub 24. I'll let the field do it. Have fun. Enjoy that sweat.
Yeah. And like, what's the realistic? This is probably a dumb question because now he's going to go out and score 1 million fantasy points.
Yeah, you did this.
Realistically, what would you say the ceiling is for Will Barton?
I mean, the ceiling would be he goes out and plays really, really well, and he earns himself like extra minutes that we didn't see last time, that he would play like 30 minutes out of nowhere and put up 35. I think that's the ceiling.
So here's the other part about Barton as well. I don't think he's guaranteed to play a ton of minutes just because he starts. I don't think Will Barton starting is any different than like Christian Koloko starting for the Raptors. I really do think that.
Yep. And Christian Koloko can actually get you rebounds or do something because Will Barton can't shoot. And that's what he was in the NBA for.
18 minutes per game, 14 fantasy points per night for Will Barton. Not great. Some super chats to answer. We got one here from Mr. Future Phenom, Melton or Harris for DK. If we were to see Harden and Embiid both get ruled out, I would prefer Tobias Harris.
I would too.
Is there any other super chats or is that the only one? Double check, scroll back through this. Yeah, just the one from our friend Future. All right, let's get back to bets then.
Sounds fun.
Going back to move past all of the millions of tabs I've opened and find here's the one I wanted. NBA Bet Pro. What else looks good tonight in our projections? THT. I'm going to, do we still have, cool. This one's still up. Dillon Brooks over under for rebounds is 2.5. I wasn't sure if there's still a prop that was available on the board. Dillon Brooks is not one of my favorite players in the NBA, but 2.5 rebounds is a very, very low number for a guy who's still getting, number one, already plays a whole bunch of run to begin with, but still picks up a couple extra minutes with Ja Morant coming off the bench and being somewhat limited. 2.5 rebounds, super low prop for Dillon Brooks. It doesn't feel good. He's not quite my least favorite player in the NBA. It's still Jimmy Butler, but Dillon Brooks is probably number 2 on my enemies list, and I'm going with the over 2.5 rebounds for him. Should I feel decent about that?
Yeah, you should. It's a really good find.
2.5 boards. We have him projected for about 3.5 today. 2.5, fairly low prop number. Is there anything else that you would like to bring up from the betting side of things, Eric?
Yeah. So one thing that I'm probably going to be adding to my premium Discord here in a second, I'm looking at Zach LaVine across the board. And I originally wasn't going to fire up like a points prop, and now I'm looking at NBA Bet Pro, and it seems like 2.5 threes is something that's popping up pretty well too. I mean, Zach LaVine has already seen a pretty big usage bump over the course of the last month, and that was alongside DeMar DeRozan. Now you're looking at a Portland team that's just woof. Looking at the team across from them that, I assume is not going to be having Damian Lillard out there, but the last couple of games had been way down for Zach LaVine in terms of usage. But before that, 25, 30, 33, 26, 40 and a half, 35. We're talking about crazy usage for the whole week before having just 18, 24, 28.1 all next to DeRozan when he got back over there. So just throwing it out there, Zach LaVine probably going to shoot the ball a lot tonight, probably going to play a lot of minutes, probably like the over on 2.5 threes.
Yeah, and then one other thing too, M in YouTube chat was saying it's a coach's decision. They don't have Brooks crashing the boards. Well, if that's the case, we should feel even better about it because he's hit the over in nearly every single game. So, like, if they're actively telling him to not rebound and he's doing it anyway, this is why I don't understand how the prop is so low. It's not like he's putting up 1 rebound in recent games. These are the most recent games for Dillon Brooks. 4 rebounds, 3 rebounds, 5 rebounds, 2 rebounds against Miami. The game was a blowout where everybody played limited minutes. The final score is 138, 119. So, all right, only gets 2 rebounds in that game, but it was a blowout. The game before that, 3 rebounds against Dallas, 5 rebounds against Dallas, 4 rebounds against the Warriors. If you go back to February 15th, so we're looking at a month and a half worth of games, he has had 3 or more rebounds in all but 2 of those games, and one of them was a blowout. So,
there's a very easy thing to identify that changed between then and now. Yeah. Steven Adams has been out. He's been out since January 22nd. So, like,
Moran.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, I think that's fantastic when things align and they're very easily explainable like that. I mean, Steven Adams, not exactly a 0 when it comes to rebounding a basketball, 11.6 boards per game. Those boards go somewhere else usually. Now, sometimes it'll go on an offensive rebound spot, but like nobody in the NBA has better than like an 11 or a 12% offensive rebound percentage. That would be insane. And I'm talking about people who are eligible for it. Most centers have like a 5-6% rebound percentage. So like, it's not a very common occurrence. Those rebounds are generally going to go to other teammates. So Dillon Brooks, as long as these other pieces, that's a really good prop. I'm adding that right now to a Prize Picks card.
Yeah, and also to address a question, because somebody in chat that is Trey McCall, however you pronounce your name, Trey McCall, DK doesn't have Sixers props. What does it mean? It means that Embiid and Harden are questionable.
Yeah, it means why would they?
Yeah, it's so hard. There's no way to set fair projections for that.
You'd be toast. You'd be toast.
If when you see key players as questionable, books generally aren't going to post lines for that.
Yep, that is accurate.
All right, let's see. Have I been buried by Kristaps Porzingis yet?
You're fine. Avdia's just started to go nuts though. 7-1-1. Porzingis 7-3-1. Yeah, you're in trouble.
I feel so Porzingis. If Porzingis is going to have, because Porzingis' first quarter is going to be done fairly soon. I don't know, 15 fantasy points in the first quarter. I've survived that. Denny, that's Denny's more problematic for me than Porzingis right now.
Yeah, he's starting to run amok. Derek White, a really good start over in that Indy Boston game, 6,500 for him. I ended up with like a tiny bit. Jaylen Brown currently outperforming Jason Tatum. That always pisses me off when that happens. So I don't really know what to say about that, because it's like, well, I'm paying up for the guy who can go for 70. I guess, Jaylen Brown goes for 60 or there's that, but like, it always pisses me off when that happens. Oh, Porzingis, 21 now. He has 2 blocks on FanDuel. Hit a 3.
And then he hit a 3 right afterwards. Right after I said he hasn't killed me quite yet. He goes and he knocks down a 3-pointer. And also, the game is competitive. That's something else, too. That game is staying close. Ideal. Game is between
Spurs just brought in like Barlow, Wesley, Justin Champagne. I don't know how to say his name. Champagne.
It's like the what's the captain from Futurama?
I don't know. I just know that he went to St. John's. That's the only thing I know about him.
That's what. Whenever I see the name Champagne, I think about the character from Futurama who thinks champagne is pronounced Champagne.
Greg's a big cartoon guy. I feel like I feel like you're a pretty big cartoon guy.
Futurama's hilarious.
Yeah, no, I think Futurama's great. I'm more just like South Park. Give me South Park every time.
Yeah, South Park. I watched The Simpsons a lot as a kid, not for a really long time though. Yeah, every once in a while I'll just throw it on the TV in my room. It still holds up, but it never occurs to me to watch it for whatever reason. Futurama's fantastic though.
Jimmy Jam just said it's Champagny. That would be the last guess I would ever make.
Oh, and yeah, it is Zap Brannigan. That's the character name.
Zap Brannigan. Nice.
Great. One of the better characters in that show for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at. We didn't get any injury news. This sucks. Like, nothing has happened to help us yet.
I've gotten to drink some nice hot tea and I feel good. How do you feel?
I mean, I'm just going to sit here for the next 3 hours and wait for more news to come out so I can set my lineups.
It's good for you.
Can't do anything until then.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the upcoming games. Detroit, Toronto. We've talked about the Toronto side. Is there anybody from Detroit that you feel you need to get exposure to?
I have 0. They're not in the pool.
And then Houston, Memphis. From the Houston-Memphis game, if we don't get any news by that point, is there anybody from Houston or Memphis you feel like you need to get exposure to?
Yeah, so one of my favorite tournament plays, and it came straight from our projections, was KJ Martin. Last time out, I'm going right back to the well. He almost won me a couple of tournaments on FanDuel the other night. 5,800 for KJ Martin. He was 5,400 last game, but we saw 39 minutes out of him in that starting lineup. It's just a spot where I think just because of the small forward, power forward eligibility, I don't find that position to be the one that was going to be impacted the most by the end of the evening. I know I sound like a broken record, but like, I think at the end of the evening, I'm mainly going to be swapping around who my guard exposures are going to be. I'm happy to be playing some of these small forward, power forward types in the early window of games. So Jabari Smith, a little bit, 6,100. He's a little bit more popular. I like KJ Martin going up against Memphis. Identical matchup as last time.
Yeah, no, I think let me see. Do I have exposure to him? I don't.
I have 16%.
I have 5% of him right now. So we did make it in a little bit.
All right. And I like Kevin Porter Jr. too. There's just a ton of minutes that these guys have been playing here of late. I mean, what was it? 34 minutes, 38 minutes, 40 minutes, 39, 39. I don't know what's going on with Houston. I think they just realized that tanking season's over and now they can just play their young guys infinity minutes. Terry Rozier officially out. That's good to know. But yeah, I think Kevin Porter Jr. at 2.7% on FanDuel, I'm in, and Kelly Oubre is out.
Bang. All right. So that's big.
Let's close that out for the people.
Yeah. So Kelly Oubre being out, I think the Dennis Smith Jr. chalk is warranted now.
Yes.
Gordon Hayward gets a bump. He's somebody who...
PJ Washington gets a bump.
Yeah, so this is a team now I'm going to get a lot of exposure to. The key pieces for me are going to be Hayward, Dennis Smith Jr., and PJ Washington.
And Teo Maledon.
Oh, all right. He's going to be a key piece for you?
Yeah. He played 26 minutes last time when everybody was completely out, 27.9 FanDuel points in a situation where it was very shorthanded. It was all the way back on December 19th. He hasn't been with the basketball team, but he just got recalled from the G League today. And so Teo Maledon, I'm going to get to.
There we go. If you guys haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Don't go anywhere though. Well, I mean, you can leave here, but make sure you check the NBA injury report, right? Don't go leave your house and go out tonight. This is not the right slate to do it. Make sure you guys are keeping in touch with everything that happens with the NBA injury news. So look out for that and any kind of late scratches. Other than that, guys, good luck tonight. I hope you have a great weekend.